Hello and welcome to episode 151 of Flix and a Six. I'm one of your hosts, Anthony Costanzo. With me, forever known as the man, the myth, the replicant yeast, Alessandro Bielsi. Say hello, Al.
I've seen things you people wouldn't believe. Attack ships on fire off the shoulder of Orion. I watched C-beams glitter in the dark near the Tannhauser Gate. All those moments will be lost in time, like tears in rain.
I mean, that's...
Oh, no, you butchered the last second of it.
Oh, no, what was the last second of it?
Time to die.
Oh, okay. On this week's episode, we get into Dexter, what we're watching, and the fantastic exit of Johnny Depp, along with other news and nuggets, all before diving into our flick of the week, obviously, Blade Runner. But first, Al, what are we drinking? Oh, dear.
Jeez, if you had trouble with that, you're going to really need to clear out when we do this beer thing in a second.
Is there a lot?
Boy, do I have a reading. Not on the can. It's on the box.
I was going to say, there's no words on this can. I'm not even sure what we're drinking.
There is a doctoral thesis on the back of this box.
Oh, dear. Okay.
So we're drinking Anchor's Mango Wheat. Mango Wheat? Anchor's Mango Wheat.
Naturally.
Ale made with natural mango flavor from America's first craft brewery. We did a Anchor beer several weeks ago. It's good. I think at the time I said we need to do more from Anchor, and well, here's me sticking to my guns on that.
I'm pretty sure we've done Anchor beers in the past, like a long time ago, and I think this came up, but from America's first craft brewery, it just feels like a bold claim.
No, I believe it was. I believe I said as much when we were doing it.
Still feels like a bold claim. It just seems...
Well, someone's got to be the first.
I guess.
Unless it's one of those things where, like, Pascal and Newton were coming up with calculus at the same time, but in separate countries in Europe, but I doubt.
Is that the Pedro Pascal effect?
Oh my god, we have so many effects. You know what? I'll allow it. It makes sense. I like it. No, there is actually a name for that as well. I don't remember that one. I definitely don't remember. I don't remember whether the name's hyphenated or not. Like, you know, because that was the thing, right? I remembered that it wasn't Dunning-Kruger, that it was some other hyphen.
Yeah.
The Diane-Kruger effect is actually the Bader-Meinhof effect.
The Diane-Kruger effect got me earlier today when I sent a Wonderwall meme to somebody, and then in Ted Lasso, Wonderwall was playing, and I was like, whoa, that's crazy.
You sent the Wonderwall meme to me.
Oh, sorry. I sent it to multiple people. I wasn't sure if I actually got that one to you. I send a lot of things to you, and you say a lot of things, and I remember half of it.
Well, that
on both
was in our
sides.
conversation the other day.
Yeah, on both sides, though. This is not just like a me forgetting what you say thing, as much as it is me forgetting what I'm doing as well.
Wait, did you get my response to that one? Because
yeah, you did. That was actually funny.
Okay. I don't know. No, not so much.
That sounded condescending. I didn't mean it that way. That was actually funny.
Oh, yeah.
As in the other things you said to me are not.
No. I just wanted to be clear that I wasn't seeking like praise and approval. Just because we decided right before we turned on the recording that Anthony is not receiving texts from me.
I got test.
Okay, I sent that as a test, obviously.
I also got brutal.
That was
in relationship to the Wonderwall meme.
Yes.
Oh, is that like a triple Diane Kruger? Oh.
But you still didn't get the picture of this beer.
What are we drinking?
Anchor's Mango Wheat.
Right. From America's second craft brewery.
Allegedly first brewery.
Right.
We don't know it's the second one. We just said allegedly the first. First craft brewery. It's not the first brewery.
We can say with confidence that it is a craft brewery.
That one we're 100% sure of, yes.
Okay.
Cool. Do we want to do the reading first, or do we want to take a whiff and take a taste of it first?
Let's take a taste on account of it sounds like you have an entire story to read me, so cheers.
Cheers.
Ooh. That's fragrant.
Oh yeah, I can do this. See, while it has nothing to do with Blade Runner, it has everything to do with the fact that it's been quite warm the last few days.
It sure has, Cotton. This is fine. You know what it is? I don't think I love mango.
Really?
Yeah.
Honestly, it doesn't taste that much like mango specifically.
Definitely it smells a lot like it. It smells a lot like mango.
Honestly, it smells more like a sour beer than it smells like a mango beer.
I think this might have more to do with my aversion to mango that I'm just realizing now. I don't think I love it.
I'm sorry, I didn't realize that you didn't like mango.
I love the occasional mango salsa. I love a more subtle mango flavor in the beer. But this feels very mango to me, and I'm going one thuckle.
Wow, okay. I didn't know you didn't like mango.
I didn't either, to be honest with you. It's just more of a realization in the moment.
Did we do the mango mosaic? I don't recall.
Yeah, I think that was better, though. I think it was less in my face.
So I just don't recall you...
Is that papaya?
Any... Guava?
Guava.
That's what it was. I don't remember you expressing a strong opinion on mango at the time. I was
going to say, I don't know that this is really a developing theory as much as it is an in the moment theory.
I was going to say, I mean, honestly...
Are you drinking out of a champagne glass?
Oh, it's it's a Game of Thrones chalice.
Oh, okay.
Hang on.
Nice.
I don't know why I was feeling the Game of Thrones chalice. I just felt like it was the proper glass. I mean, it's similar in shape to the
if you had to
tulip glass.
Yeah, it's close. It doesn't have the little flare at the top. But if you were to rate this in Game of Thrones seasons, that would be a good way to do this. Which season of beer is this?
Let's say season 5, the one where it first
I was going to say 5 or 6.
I was going to say where it first started going downhill, where it's like you didn't quite realize it wasn't as good yet, but it's like something is off. Not that there's anything off with this beer, but it's like it's good, but not great.
All right, so season 5 is a thuckle basically. That's their scale.
Yeah, that's like league average, you know.
Okay. All right, where is 4 thuckles at though on the Game of Thrones scale?
Probably season 3.
3, right? 3. This is a difficult scale.
Season.
Yeah, it's a tough scale to get behind.
Yeah.
Anyway, what's on the box? Oh, how many thuckles for you?
Say 1 and 1.5, something like that.
No,
like it's good.
I'm not coming up with another word for half a thuckle. A thucklet? We did this already.
A thucklet.
We've done this bit.
Oh god.
Okay.
Also, I'm a little disappointed you didn't say what's on the box. I think I gotta get my. I have all the lights on down here, although the dimmer is on in the main room here. I gotta get some light for this reading. Anchor's Mango Wheat, trademark.
Nice.
Ale made with sun-ripened mangoes. We're excited to present our refreshing.
As opposed to what? Light? Just like a lamp?
I said I put on the light from my phone because I can't read.
Sun-ripened as opposed to what?
Oh. As opposed to, I don't know, like hothouse mangoes.
If I was still calling you things other than yeast, I would call you hothouse mango next episode.
Please do it, because I'm definitely going to forget, and it's going to be
hothouse mango yeast.
No, not the yeast, just the hothouse mango. I don't think we have to be tied to the yeast. Replicate.
That's fair. That's today, fair.
And I do enjoy the yeast strain.
The strain of yeasts. Yeah.
But
I see what you did there.
We have to be totally tied to it, totally married to it.
All right.
We're excited to present our refreshingly unique craft brew, Anchor's Mango Wheat. Mangoes, Mangifera indica, are native to southern Asia. They possess an enticingly rich aroma and spicy sweet juiciness, unlike any other fruit.
What? What is that description? Keep going. Go on.
Californians have enjoyed fresh mangoes since the 1850s. In 1857, Wide West reported that the mango is, quote, at once the richest and most delicate of all fruits, and all other fruits are comparatively insipid beside its intensity of taste. There is something in it which is nothing less than voluptuous, end quote. As early as 1858...
What asshole said that?
Someone from Wide West.
What is that?
Some sort of publication, because it is in italics.
Okay.
As early as 1858, California-grown mangoes were already being displayed at California's state agricultural fair. Anchor's Mango Wheat is a crisply refreshing, effervescent, golden ale that highlights the delectable character of this singular fruit.
I think this mango wheat is a little up its own ass, and I'm not a big fan.
Hang on, we still got another paragraph and a half here.
Jesus Christ.
I told you it was like a fucking essay.
You're like, Michael Cera. Jesus Christ!
It's literally 4 paragraphs total. Brightness without sharpness, fullness of flavor without heaviness, tropical aroma without pungency, complexity without cacophony. Sorry, I thought you were going to object at cacophony.
Oh, I am silently.
The crisp, clean flavors of the wheat and the
It's a silent protest on a podcast. Really get my point across. When it gets cut out in the auto edit.
I was going to say, this is, of course, a visual medium for only you and I. And also, you have that editing software that cuts out all the dead air.
Jeez. Go on.
The crisp, clean flavors of the wheat and the abundant white head on this brew are the perfect complement to the alluring mango aroma. Our can design is inspired by a 75-year-old fruit crate label in the Anchor collection. We used the Ventura Made trademark courtesy of the Ventura County Lemon Cooperative. Fruit crate labels have a long and colorful history in California dating to the late 19th century. Most such agricultural art features enticingly succulent fruit and an idealized pastoral landscape. Ours, however, as unique as the beer itself, features a Pacific siren.
Al, I didn't think it could happen. But based on what they printed on the box, we are -1 thuckle on this.
-1 thuckle?
Okay? And here's the problem.
So one thuckle down. One thuckle
it's
down.
one thuckle down. One thuckle down. Here's the deal. First off, it almost seems like they're like the way that they're going at it and like praising the mango. It's as if they invented it. So first off, get off mango's dick. That's one.
Well, they did state that mangoes are from Asia and that they have brought them over to California, but that California lays claim to them from a U.S. perspective.
Right, in a very American fashion, like we brought it, we did it better.
Yes.
No.
Wait, is this the first ever?
Took a shitty fruit.
Is this the first ever mid-2000s, what the fuck is it called? Like forum version of First?
Yeah, I think it might be. I think it might be.
The first documented version of First on the comment section.
Oh man, this beer's making me more angry than it rightfully should. So first problem was basically laying claim to mango, and my other problem is like they're like, oh, like they're praising mango as if they invented it, and now they're also like talking about their amazing can art, which I judge can art, and I disagree. And secondly, it's not theirs. They took it. They said it on the box. They took the fruit. They took the art. They're like, we're the best. It's a very American beer.
And so this is actually as American.
It's quintessential. This might as well be Budweiser. -1 thumb.
Oh, full
we're 2 thuckles down.
2 thuckles down. Oof, that run really turned.
Yeah, let's get out of here. Let's get out of it. It's fine. There's nothing special about that. It's okay. I'm not like I don't hate it as much as
beer. I would drink this in spring or summer. I would
sure.
joyfully drink
sure. It. That wonderful November summer that we've got going.
Yeah. Right. I've been back to wearing
one world crisis at a time.
After like 4 days of wearing pants to work, I've been back to wearing shorts for a week.
Mm-hmm. That's fair. Today I was like, surely it'll be a little cooler today than the last 2 days. And I wore jeans and I went outside and I was like, it's so hot.
It was cooler than it's been, but also 110% humidity.
Oh yeah. It was just, you walk outside and you're wet, but it's not raining. It was disgusting.
I mean, I got rained on plenty too, but yeah, there was periods of time where it wasn't really, and I felt wet.
Awesome. I don't know what's up. I think it's it was the pre-show booze that really did me in today.
Oh, I have no excuse. This is the first alcohol I've sipped today, so.
Well, Al, do you want to get into some news and nuggets as we do?
Let's get weird. You start.
What's going on? What's going on with the fantastic exit over here? I just know the headline. I know nothing else.
Is that what we're?
Obviously what we're calling it.
I have a question because we didn't discuss this pre-show.
Sure.
Do you have any news and nuggets?
I have. Yeah, but they're more about me than they are.
So you have more of a catch up, what we're watching type of situation.
Exactly.
Because this makes sense then why you threw it directly to me, because I came into it pretty light today. I have 2.
That's fine.
So
yeah.
When you immediately threw it to me, I was like, he's not that flustered. I don't think he has anything.
I know. No, it was great. It's great. I'm glad you were able to see through that.
I'm not bothering to bring up a news story or whatever, because honestly, we're just kind of colloquially talking about this.
Sure.
Johnny Depp is exiting the Fantastic Beasts franchise. Probably one whole movie too late, maybe even two. Which isn't to denigrate the performance. I actually thought he did a decent job as Grindelwald, but not like I did pronouncing the name.
Yeah, that was rough. Did you say Grindelworm?
It was a little bit more like Grindelwur, because there was no consonant after what that L became an R when I was saying it. There was no,
aren't you supposed to? Isn't that
either?
I'm pretty sure that W is also pronounced as a V.
Yeah, but that's one of those things that kind of comes and goes depending on how bohemian you want to get with it, I guess.
Sure. Go full bohemian.
Yeah.
Grindelworm.
Grindelworm.
All right.
Anyway, he's not doing that anymore.
Sure.
I'm not here to comment on his ongoing legal and public battle. I've never heard.
I don't know anything about this stuff.
They seem. Oh wow. Okay. They seem to both be disgusting people. It's just for them not to be with each other. Period.
Interesting.
I'm not interested in saying it's his fault. It's her fault that he's the victim, that she's the victim. It sounds like they've both terrorized each other, and that's just enough of that.
I could not be more on the outside of what's happening right now.
Oh, because this has been like super public. I mean, we've talked about it some in the past, just how there's a lot of people who didn't like him being in anything, let alone this movie franchise. I know we've discussed it like when we did the second movie on the show.
Yeah.
Actually, did we do the first one too?
I would assume so.
Well,
did we do a Fantastics combo?
I know that
that's like something you order on a fast food
Fantastic
menu.
Combo.
The Fantastic Combo.
That movie definitely came out before we started the show.
Sure.
But I know that I didn't watch it when it came out, and I think I only watched it so we could do the second one for the show. I just don't remember if we did an episode.
Okay. Gotcha.
Regardless. They've just had a really public battle, each of them claiming they've been abused by the other.
Okay.
I don't know how much of what each of them have said is true. It seems like at least parts of all of it has been true. It sounds like they have definitely probably abused both of each other. So, like I said,
it sounds like they should work this shit out and leave me out of it.
Yeah, which is kind of, I guess, what's happening, because she doesn't really work too much other than, I guess, Aquaman.
Okay.
And he's been also working less and less, and not this. Though, from what I heard today, and I'm just too lazy to look up because I just don't care about this and him or anything anymore. He jumped the shark probably a decade ago. He was a good actor, there's no question.
Sure.
I've just been caring less and less for the past decade, and that predates his involvement with her.
Does this have something to do with him becoming Jack Sparrow and then never exiting the role?
Yeah, more or less. Although, see, the thing is, he did briefly, because he's not Jack Sparrow in Public Enemies, and that's a good movie. He did a good job in it.
Who was he in Tusk?
He was in Tusk?
Yeah, he was.
I had no idea.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, I told you I was never going to watch that movie.
I thought you watched it. I thought we did it. I'm so lost.
God, no.
All right, we're going to do that one day. Go on.
Pass. I'm using one of my official passes.
Yeah. We don't have those. It's going to be done. All right. Anyway, so he sucks. Whatever. Something happened. He's gone.
Yeah, so from what I heard, though, because he shot at least one whole scene or something like that.
Yeah, he got paid the whole thing, right? That's a movie thing, isn't it? Like, isn't that like a contract thing that exists? Well, I feel like this is not the first time that's happened.
It's something in his contract.
Okay.
And that's to the tune of 10 figures.
Sick.
So, I mean, I guess credit to Warner for going full sunk cost here. Like,
I guess that's true. If they wanted to cut ties and they're like, we'll pay any dollar amount to end this.
That's what I mean, is like not succumbing to the sunk cost fallacy, because they could have just been like, well, we're already going to pay him $10 million. Like,
Johnny, you're out, but you're still going to get paid. Sevy? And then that was it. That's ridiculous. That's like, his agents are like, he's 100% going to be fired from a job within the next 5 years. Let's put this clause on his contract.
Yeah. But like once you become a big enough star, like that's a guaranteed part of your contract, probably just about any time. Because I don't think it's a standard contract for every single actor who's ever worked You know what I mean?
Sure.
Like, I'm sure that if you or I somehow booked a role, we wouldn't be getting that.
That's fair. That's fair.
Regardless.
I try to put that like that rider in. Where do you get off? Actually, no. Now you have to pay us.
Yeah, right.
This backfired. This backfired real bad.
But honestly, I'm kind of done with that. I'm done with him. I'm more or less done with the series, as I've kind of said since the first movie. But we'll keep doing it for
I like them.
I suppose, because
I enjoy the movies.
I liked the first one better, even though I understood what the lead character was saying less. Regardless, a bit of good news to finish this topic off.
Sure.
The person they are eyeing to fill his role is Mads Mikkelsen.
Put him more Mads. Mads and everything. Right? Yeah.
This is a pro Mads show here. He is. I don't know that he's.
Okay, so we have Hammer Cavill, and now we're gonna drive Johnny mad. That's
no, drive Johnny Mads.
Drive Johnny Mads.
He is a great actor. He
sure.
is criminally underrated. We need more things with him in it. So I'm all for this, and I think he'd actually be really good for the role. For one, it'd be good to have someone with a name like Grindelwald to sound not like
well done.
British or
hang on,
or
pause for a moment. Bask in that. You did it.
Pour one out for that excellent pronunciation of Grindelwald.
Right. Not Grindelwald. It sounded like the bad guy in Men in Black at the end.
It'd be nice to have someone who actually sounds like foreign and not British or American doing a bad British accent.
Yeah.
So, yeah. But anyway, great actor, good villain. So,
yeah,
I'm
cool.
I'm totally down for that.
Sounds good. Yeah, I'll watch it either way. Don't care. Here's the thing: we can retrofit him into the first movie. I'm sure that'd be about $15 worth of special effects because his face only appears in it like once, right?
It's really just that final scene,
right? But to retrofit him in the second one, I think we could do that. I'm pretty sure we could use some sort of deep learning thing and just map his face over it. Oh,
because I was picturing more like an Ian McDiarmid holographically projected in Empire Strikes Back type of deal. But you want to do a full like CGI.
I want to do a face-off.
Mocap. We're going to just mocap the whole thing and like put him over him in the screen. But like occasionally the one actor turns faster than the other. So you see like 3 feet.
Naturally. I mean, is there any other way to do this? Hollywood, baby. All right. Moving on. That's I guess news.
I mean, it's definitely news.
I'm watching a lot of things, Al.
Okay, tell me.
All right, you ready? We're going to start off in reverse order because the last one we're going to have a lot to talk about.
Wait, order of like quality?
No.
Or like chronological?
Chronological order. My watching order. Okay? Yeah, Reversed. Okay?
No, we're going to do it chronologically from release date.
That's right. So, I am currently in the throes of Ted Lasso, which is shaping up to be one of the best television shows I've ever watched.
I've heard great things.
Absolutely hysterical.
One of the many things that I said to you. Wow, that came out like quite happily.
And I say it to you again now.
I very much would like to check out that show. I just don't have Apple TV Plus.
We're going to get you in here because you got to watch it. It's great. It's great. You'll love it. You'll absolutely love it. This is a league situation. This is me loving a sports thing and not caring for sports in the least. And that's granted because it's not really a sports show.
The only one that you ever show any sort of interest in is soccer. So
that's fair. That's fair. It's okay. So let me just lay the groundwork for you for the show. This is my favorite part about it. The main character, Ted Lasso, Jason Sudeikis. The whole shtick is he is just relentlessly kind. And it plays.
Well, I've heard that's part of why everyone loves it so much. Is that in a year after like a 5-year period of everything being terrible and this being the worst of them by far, that just having someone be kind and decent and like a show be relentlessly like nice and like good is what we needed. It's part of the reason why Schitt's Creek was thrived so much in the latter years.
Yeah, I will say, to get you amped up for the show, if you haven't watched it, I will explain to you all you need to do. Go on YouTube and type in Ted Lasso, Caesar, You Later. And it's a 1-minute clip from like the 4th or 5th episode. fourth episode, I think. And it is, I rarely rewind something right after it happened to watch it again because I enjoyed it so much. And I think I did it once or twice. And then I watched the clip like at least 4 times afterwards.
I know you sent me the clip.
It's tremendous. And it is exactly what you need every minute of every day. So watch that and then get on board and watch Ted Lasso because it's fantastic. That's 1. 2. This is this is what you're going to find that these two are related. This is me going, oh, right. I have a reminder in my notes, my like agenda app that I use to cancel Apple TV because I had a free year of it. And then as this month rolled around, I got an email that's like, we've extended it to February. And I was like, hey, thanks. That gives me more time. I might as well take advantage of this because I certainly did not for the entire year that I've had this platform. So I was like, let's get in this. We watched the entire first season of Little Voice. This is since we've last spoken, by the way. So it's like, I don't know, 9 episodes. They're like 30-ish minutes long. Great show. Oh my goodness. It's fantastic. Really good.
With this one.
I'm a sucker for a musical show and a musical movie. This is that. And it's awesome. Wait,
it's a movie or a show?
It's a show, but it's a musical.
Okay.
It's great. Well, musical. It's not a musical. It's got music in it. There's a lot of singing. It's all music written by Sarah Bareilles, but it's performed by the actress in the show who is a songwriter going through the motions of becoming like
Sarah
she's basically she's very good, and she has to go through all the hoopla and the shenanigan.
I'm sorry, what?
Shenanigan is a throwback to, I think, like episode 80. We've done this before. I'm going to breeze past it.
I know we've had a lot of funs with pluralization of words, but I don't recall shenanigan.
So, basically, yeah, like it's like loosely based on her experiences, but it's a more fleshed out like entire story with like supporting characters that are like really great. Sorry, chemistry.
Brief interruption, just because that popped it into my mind. I did not realize until quite recently that Chaz Palminteri wrote A Bronx Tale, and that's about his life.
Yeah. Oh, I didn't know that second part.
Yeah, I mean, loosely, I don't believe it's 100%.
Sure.
Like, obviously, there was things that happened in that movie that were very similar to things that he either experienced himself or witnessed or heard about while growing up in the Bronx. Had no idea.
Hey, on that segue, that little cutaway that we just did there, I'm going to throw another one at you. Very unpopular opinion. Might cost us some listeners. Goodfellas, not a great movie. Moving on.
Big disagree.
Maybe we should do that one day. I just watched it again, and I've got feelings.
No, I think Goodfellas is a great movie.
Anyway, Little Voice. Voices? Voice? I don't know if it's plural or not. It's a good show.
I've never heard of it before we started talking about it in 97.
Also on Apple TV. Also completely hooked. Very much looking forward to another season if that's a thing that's going to happen. Seems like it would be. Finally, the other thing that I watched is the last few episodes of Dexter.
I forgot that we have
for last few episodes for now. I get it. I see why people are upset. It's fair. You're right. Like it's not. We lost track of what we're doing.
It's actually insane. It's been just over 7 years since that show ended, and for you to not truly know about the ending until now.
Yeah, I didn't know at all.
Wild to me.
Yeah, it's crazy to me because I was assuming that at some point when I got through the final episode, I'll be like, oh, I'm sure there's something that I have seen that I've like tossed away because it wasn't relevant to me, and that'll come back, like will resurface. You've
probably seen a gif of just the zoom in on his face at the end.
Maybe, and I guess it was so throwaway having no context that my brain was like, don't need that, and it just tossed it.
There's nothing in there that would tip off the fact that that's what's going on.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like,
but
someone who's an outside observer.
Spoilers, I guess, for season 8 of Dexter. 8? 9? I don't even know what season it was. Was it 8?
8.
We're going to talk about that for the next. Go to the bookmarks if you don't want to hear this. You can skip to the next segment of the show. However, because I do put the work in to put those bookmarks there, and I think they are underappreciated. To be fair, I've never used a bookmark in my life listening to a podcast.
The thing is,
they're there.
I don't know how to. I mean, I just use the generic Google podcast thing, like player. So if there is a bookmark.
Well,
I've never seen it.
I do also put the bookmark timestamps in the description, so at least those are there.
I've seen that.
Okay.
But
So, all right, so we're going to get into this for a few minutes here. First off, if you're going to kill that character, it's gotta be bigger. It's gotta be more. The way that it was done.
Oh, I don't know. It was a lot.
It was. It was a lot. It was.
We're talking about Deb, by the way.
Of course.
Oh, spoilers.
Well, yeah, but.
No, I know. I'm just so fucking.
No, like if you first off, you can't allude to it for I don't know 2 seasons that she's gonna go, which is what they did. If you're paying attention, she's clearly like there's gonna be some sort of unfixable divide between the two characters. In the case of this show, that most likely would mean death, based on the way that they were playing it out.
Which is
not subtle at all.
Which is funny because they ultimately fix their divide, and that's what leads to her death.
Yeah, we call that The Walking Dead. We call that move The Walking Dead. That's when you make a character come back, you like them, and they axe them. That episode.
See, I always thought that The Walking Dead was character who's never had more than 2 lines gets 40 lines, and that's how you know they're.
That's fair. That's the more consolidated version of it. But this was more of a this was people that knew what they were doing for the most part doing that. So they bury the lead just a little bit. But if you're paying attention, you see it coming from a mile away. Like I'm pretty sure it was like the second episode of season 7. I was like, oh, she's not making it out of this. and I don't know what the line was, but it was just very clear to me.
Well, it does kind of seem like the show at that point becomes a battle for Deb and Dexter's souls, right?
Sure.
So it felt obvious that at least one of them had to die.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I guess that's fair.
Because ultimately it could have ended with him falling on his sword to save her, you know?
That's true. And that's actually what I was getting at, is if she's going to go out, it has to be bigger. I do think that it maybe would have played a little bit better if it was more of like a heroic moment of hers, of like, and it kind of was, but like...
No, instead she dies because of gross incompetence by her. Gross idiocy by her former partner.
Incompetence. Yeah, that was really stupid. Also, I don't know. Like, it was dumb. It was real dumb. It was horribly handled at the very end, which is really funny because I was under the impression that, I mean, the 8th season is a bumpy ride. Don't get me wrong. Like the whole thing's a bumpy ride.
I mean, you can see in like the first 4 episodes, there are so many scenes where you can literally see the straining at the seams.
Yeah, yeah.
Like one of the scenes early on, I don't remember which episode it was in. It's in one of the first 1 or 2 or 3 episodes where Angel, had retired, but now he's back and also in charge.
Yeah.
And there's just a flat out Basil exposition scene, and I'm just like, oh.
Yeah, it hurts.
God. And he's like, he's the one doing it, and he is not the character to be doing exposition like that either. And it's like, and Angel was a great character on the show, period. But he was not suited for that role.
Yeah.
And it's just like, oh God, I can literally see the wheels turning here.
It's not great. You know what else is not great? Is the Quinn and Jamie breaking up so that Deb and Quinn can have a minute before she dies is really stupid, because I think it would have been a much darker tale if him and Jamie don't break up. And it's still something that's weighing on him. And even though he's saying that he's not still thinking about her, he obviously is always thinking about her, and making it more of a character, just a difficult thing for that character to go through silently. And I feel like that would have been a little bit stronger storytelling. That's another thing.
It probably took until now for this to really fully crystallize for me. Jamie gets such a tough assignment in this season.
Dude, Jamie works on her birthday to watch Harrison late because Dexter is a shithead. And it really bothers me.
Well, yeah, but that's my point, right? Is Dexter underappreciates her. Angel doesn't respect her. Quinn is not a good boyfriend.
No.
She's just saddled with so much crap.
Yeah. Yeah. And the only one that loves her is Harrison.
Yes.
Anyway, that bothered me. That's a whole thing. Can we talk about this garbage character, the Marshal? Not to be confused with the Marshal from The Mandalorian, who was a great character. But
wait, sorry, I forgot who was the Marshal.
Exactly. See? Exactly. He was the guy that fucks everything up. He is the guy that goes and lets the brain surgeon go, gets stabbed in the chest because we're done with him, and then Deb gets shot.
Yeah, that's the... Oh, you know what? I think I misspoke earlier. I was picturing, for some reaon, I thought Sean... Oh, no, because Sean Patrick Flannery's on the bus later. Okay.
That's right.
For some reason, I was thinking it was...
Can we talk about another useless character? I mean, I love him. He's great. I actually, as I'm watching the first half of the season, I was like, oh, I'm surprised he hasn't been in more. And then I was like, oh, we're just gonna put the writing for this character in the garbage can, set on fire? Cool.
Well, that's the thing, right? He quickly vaulted to one of the most unlikable characters on the show. And it's such a weird space to be in because he's so unlikable because he's so terribly written most of the time. But also, Sean Patrick Flannery's acting his ass off.
Yeah.
So, like, he's also intentionally unlikable, like, in, like, a good way.
Yeah.
Because of the acting, but in a bad way because of the writing.
Exactly. He gave 120% to something that deserved maybe 16.
Yes. What a weird number to choose. I forgot that. Yeah, that was that Marshall. Was the Marshall anyone? Was he someone like that's like a recognizable name? I don't.
No, I don't know his name, and I don't remember seeing.
Sorry, when I said gross incompetence and gross idiocy,
you meant that guy.
Marshall.
Yeah. That checks out. That tracks. Sean Patrick Flannery, on the other hand, doesn't. They screw up his character entirely, and like you know what's really stupid? Like this is we put him on the bus. Oh no, he's on the bus. Like she's not gonna get out of this now, and I'm like, oh, first off, she's gonna throw that hot tea in his face. That's 100% what's gonna happen, and she doesn't do it. I'm like, I'm upset, and then she stabs him with a needle, and he goes to sleep. I was like, this could have been far better. She should have killed him. That would have been actually really cool and interesting for her character.
Sure, except it also shows that she finally was gonna stop just defaulting to that.
It does.
But
I feel like it might have added a layer of complexity to her. Like where, like the fight. You know how Dexter's always pulled in, even though he knows by the 8th season that he should maybe fucking stop. Like
that's the whole point. Is she
got out?
Does grow up?
So is there going to be?
She does realize it's about something more than her, and that there's more than one way to do it.
Yeah,
but it still stays true to herself because she's still drugged.
Right. That's fair. But all right, but basically him being on the bus, I mean, it really doesn't do much because at that point it does seem that she has turned around, which is great. And I honestly didn't need the extra 10 minutes of him on the bus grabbing her wrist in a really awkward way that like nobody else on the bus says anything. Like nobody says anything. Like it looked aggressive. At least like the people 2 rows behind should be just got their eyes on him, right? Like, is this okay? Is she okay? Whatever. So anyway, he unnecessary. She gets off the bus. She's fine. She takes Harrison for a trip. I guess it was a lot easier to fly internationally with somebody who is not even remotely related to you and is a minor back then. Whatever.
No, that's still a post 20. That's still a post 9/11 world.
So,
although to be fair, a child that young wouldn't need a passport.
Oh, is that the case?
I think so.
Oh,
I don't remember what the cutoff is. I know that the passports are different for under 18.
Sure,
but I think a kid that young might not need a passport.
Well, he's got the Jack syndrome at this point, right? Because he aged 3 years and 2 months.
That's already
so I don't know how old he is, if we're being honest. He could be 19 by the time they land. I have no idea. But so okay, they get there, they get to wherever they're going. Argentina. They're fine, they're happy. Well, Harrison's happy, he's got ice cream. She's not so thrilled. She thinks Dexter's dead. It's fine. And they just
considering the news headline, which so weird that she would get that newspaper with that headline in Argentina, but
sure.
That very helpful headline saying that very clearly Dexter died.
That's right. Dexter Morgan found dead. Dexter Morgan's boat certainly crushed. Anybody else on board definitely dead. That's basically what it said in the newspaper.
Boat of obscure blood. What the hell was his title?
Blood splatter analyst.
Blood splatter analyst found out to sea. Captain Shirley dead.
Now, so here's the thing. So let's circle back for a second. We're on the boat. Dexter takes Deb, throws her in the ocean. I am not even remotely going to pretend to understand the symbology. But Sean Patrick Flannery.
Full circle. Well, it is full circle, right? Because he's laying to rest his final kill. Because even though he didn't actually stab her,
sure, he killed her. Whatever.
It's his fault she died.
It's fine.
He wrapped her in plastic.
It's not his fault she died. It is 100% that douchebag Marshall's fault that she died. Let's be very clear. Chekhov's Marshall is the reason she's dead.
Chekhov's Marshall is actually a pretty good call. No, I mean, like, obviously, he bears responsibility because he brought her into this world, and she should have never been involved with that whole situation with the brain surgeon, so.
Okay, all right, that's fair. I want to say, though, can we both agree that 8th season would have been far better if Chekhov's Marshall was actually played by Michael Rappaport? I feel like that's the character that he...
I don't like that guy.
But, I mean, exactly. Like, I feel like he would have played that character really well.
No, because I don't think Sean Patrick... Well, I have no reason to think one way or the other. I don't think Sean Patrick Flannery is a douchebag, but he played a great one in the show.
Sure. Okay, fair enough.
Ben Affleck. If he was played by Ben Affleck...
Yeah, that's when you're on board. Oh, man, this was tough. Okay, so getting back to that for a second. They're on the boat. He throws her off. There's something interesting about that. I actually meant to look it up after the fact. I don't know if it's true or not, but when he drops her into the water, I'm pretty sure one of her eyes opens for a second, and I thought it was supposed to be like a thing like to make him like panicky or something. Rewound it, could barely see it, so I'm not sure that it's actually what happened or if it was just my imagination. Anyway, what I was thinking was, I hope that somewhere on like an old DVD of season 8 with like special features and bloopers and outtakes, that just as he drops her in the water, she just like opens her eyes and goes, "Surprise, motherfucker!" Like that. I really hope that cut exists. Also, if you were to do that and put that in, better show. Turns the entire series into a comedy. Boom. It was.
He peels the plastic off of her for a second, and it's actually Dokes in there.
Exactly. They play the long con. This whole thing has just been just a really long, like 8-season joke, and the punchline lands, boom, right as he throws her into the water. It might have been a better ending. Here's the thing: I was fine with him dying in the boat. I think that would have been fine. And then I was actually fine with him living out his days as a lumberjack. That's fine too. In like, and in the way that they did it, right? He looked miserable. He was basically putting himself through his own like penance, kind of. And he goes into this cabin that has candles, which was hilarious. And he sits down and he closes his eyes and he's sitting at the table. And I'm like, oh, not terrible. I was like, this is a good way to end it. Then he opens his eyes. And I understand that he opens his eyes as a callback to like the first season. Kim clued me into when that happens originally. That's fine, but it's wrong. It was the wrong move to make. He should have had his eyes closed as it fades to black and the credits roll silently. And that's it. That should have been the end. And I would have been okay with that.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. The eyes thing is kind of whatever.
I think the eyes thing, like, I was getting on board. I was like, I'm not thrilled, but I'm on board with this idea of him. And then his eyes open. I was like, nope, I don't like it. I don't like any of it.
See, I'm not sure what's going on there with the eyes specifically. What I will say is, while a lot of the last season is not good, and a lot of the decisions made in those last couple of episodes are not good, if you find a way to kind of just explain away or hand wave all of that part, right? Just like talk about the beats of like 50,000 foot view, right? He faces his final test. He tries to swear off the killing. That kind of is part of the reason that leads to Deb dying. He gives in, kills one more time, rides off into the storm, survives, ends up as a lumberjack. That, the beat by beat of all of that, I'm actually good with it. So, like, the people who bitch about him showing up as a lumberjack, I mean, like, whatever. Like, you can like it, not like it, fine. That one is really not offensive to me.
I feel like it says more about you if you have real strong feelings about this, and maybe you should reflect. I don't know what the problem is.
Well, I mean, over the years we've decided, or we've all discovered, all of us have discovered that it's really fucking hard to end a good show. Like, it just is, especially like a show that's so plot heavy, right?
Yeah.
Like, you can end a Schitt's Creek or a Parks and Rec with relative ease because it's more about beats, right? It's about character moments and getting to say goodbye.
That's fair.
Breaking Bad has the perfect ending.
Yeah.
That's one in a million to get it right. Game of Thrones, obviously, like horrendously bad.
Yeah.
Comically. Both like theme and execution.
Yeah.
This, I think, thematically, I like it. Execution, bad.
Mm-hmm.
And then you have something like Sopranos, which is incredibly divisive. I actually am good with it. I like how the Sopranos
end. I still have to see the end.
Good with all of it. So tell me you don't know how that one ends.
I think I know how that one ends.
I mean, that has been the like zeitgeist moment of the show, and everyone knows how that ends. It's like knowing that Darth Vader is Luke's father. Like, everyone knows.
Well, I don't know it as clearly as that. I have an idea of what happens.
What's your idea of what happens?
A fade to black?
That's definitely a fade to black. Yes.
Okay. With heavy implications.
It's heavily implicated that something happens, though it doesn't have to. Nothing has to have happened, really.
Okay.
It's more because it's just how ominously it ends. There's not a specific thing, like you don't see a gun raised on someone or anything like that. It just ends.
Gotcha.
And like cuts, like they're like blasting out "Don't Stop Believing" and music site. All of it cuts for like 5 seconds before the credits roll.
Oh, interesting.
So when it aired in like 2007 or whatever year it was, everyone thought their TVs or their cable cut out.
That's awesome. That's pretty funny. I like that.
It actually caused a lot of hysteria.
I like that.
Just that simple thing. But anyway, getting back to Dexter, I don't like a lot of how they did the things, but thematically, like 50,000 foot view.
Sure.
I'm on board with all of the main points.
Yeah.
So I don't get too worked up about the lumberjack thing. The Deb stuff is the one that's more offensive to me.
Agreed.
And I think that's more justifiable than the complaints about it.
Sure. I 100% agree with that. Yeah, it's I couldn't give two shits about the lumberjack thing. I actually think it's fine. Like that's fine. I had more of a problem with his eyes opening.
It's a callback to earlier in the show when they highlighted that that's what serial killer. That's the most serial killers by per capita live up there. And he basically says, "How would that work as a retirement plan?" And that's what it ends up being.
Yeah.
His retirement plan is to go live out his days as a lumberjack. I
am curious what coming back for a season will mean.
Well, the thing is, the part of the finale that I think they got right, it threatens to undo it, right? Because you kind of nailed it when you said this is basically him living out his penance because he doesn't get to have his son. He doesn't get to have the one person who can truly understand him and love him. Actually, either of the two of them, right? He doesn't get to have Deb or... Oh my god, I'm totally drawing a blank on what Yvonne Strahovski's character's name is.
Hannah.
Yes, he doesn't get to have Hannah or Deb. He doesn't get to have Harrison. He doesn't get to have the slightest bit of what causes happiness for him. I'm assuming that he's no longer killing while he's there either. That's the point of his penance. Also abstinence from that.
Yeah. No steak, no beers, no killing.
Well, there's plenty of beers in the
part of his penance.
Northwest, so there's
something
plenty
like
of good
50-something Hail Marys.
What was the line that Brian said in the first season? Can't a guy have a steak and a 6-pack of craft beer with his girlfriend's brother or something like that?
Yes. Oh my god. Yeah, I'm curious to see what they'll do. I will say, like, obviously, like at some point in the future, there'll be a spin-off series about Harrison being a serial killer because that kid has no shot. I
love the panic. Actually, I really liked that little storyline. The panic he gets when Harrison scratches the kid.
Oh, so good.
At daycare, and he immediately sucks the blood and goes, look, and he even gets rid of the evidence.
That was great. Yeah. Anyway, Dexter's over, and I was just like, I guess Dexter's over now. That was basically how I felt when it was over.
Yeah, and so that's why I like the lumberjack thing, is because it does feel like it's right, where he finally realized.
Yeah, I think you do that part without killing Deb, or you kill Deb better.
Yeah, I think it's just better.
Do better.
If she's gonna die, I'm okay with that because that's been his fear. Like, it's a self-fulfilling prophecy, right? He's been fearing that forever, and then it happened, and it's because he couldn't give up his urge. Right. And so he lives out his penance, knowing that all the things he feared were justifiable his whole life, and that he needs to pay. He's not going to pay all the way. He's not going to see justice. He's not going to kill himself.
Yeah,
but he's gonna self-impose punishment on himself. Right. I don't get to have what I want anymore. And the people I do love who are still surviving, they don't have to be tainted by me anymore.
Right.
On a daily basis.
It's totally fine.
I don't see how this finale does anything other than undo the little bit of the finale they got right.
Yeah. I'm curious. I will say, while I understand, I was joking. I understand what you were saying. Dropping Deb in the ocean, right? The last kill, the whole thing, the connection. Fine. You know what ruins that entire experience? Is all I can now think about is the 30-minute journey of him sneaking a body out of the hospital. Like, it was too much. Like, if he was just on the boat with her, I wouldn't have even questioned it. I would have just been like, yeah, he took her out of there. It's fine. Or like, picked her up and walked out of the room and showed a little bit of the chaos, and then they're on the boat. Fine. But they go through the whole length of him walking out of the hospital to the dock, down to the dock, onto the boat, awkwardly untying the boat and then going away, and nobody looks. Nobody, like, I understand.
Hurricane.
I understand there was a hurricane. Nobody looks. The hurricane also wasn't that bad on account of the aftermath when they showed it. The hurricane's gone now and everything's fine. Like, that's basically what the news headline was.
There was some wood.
It was, yeah, with the lumberjacks. Anyway,
it's symbology.
It ended. It's worth the watch. I was entertained. I enjoyed the show. I burned through it.
It starts as a great show. It stands the test of time as a entertaining show.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't get the ending quite right.
Right, it doesn't stick the landing.
No.
I will say I finished this with incredible ease, and every time we sat down to watch it, I really wanted to watch it, which is not the experience that I had.
It's a really entertaining show.
Not the experience I had with The Sopranos.
No, Sopranos is not entertaining in the same way that Dexter is,
no.
But it's also not going for entertaining like that. I mean, there are episodes that are entertaining like
That's
that.
That's
fair, for sure.
Yeah,
The Pine Barrens is very entertaining.
Fantastic.
I don't have the same reverence for it that a lot of people do, where it's this masterpiece, but very entertaining.
Oh no, it's not a masterpiece. It's good. That's also how I feel about the show. No, I don't actually feel that it's good. That's a lie. I feel like it's okay. I get it. We've talked about this at length. I get it. But just because it was good then, and it did something amazing for the genre, does not mean it's good now. Foreshadowing. Moving on to the next.
Some of it definitely doesn't hold up, for sure.
Moving on to the next topic. What's up with Mass Effect? We got some news.
Yeah, so that thing that everyone's been speculating and rumor mongering about for like 8 months or whatever it is, been since the first like indications that there could be a remaster. There's a remaster.
Yes, sir.
Obviously everything looked great, but it's also like all cinematic trailer.
That's fair.
I'd like to see what
they upres textures and stuff like that within the actual game itself.
And also I want to get into the nitty-gritty of I have to ask you this about the Halo remaster.
Sure.
Is it just an updated version of each individual game, or do all of them share the same combat suite?
They do not all share the same combat suite. It is an updated version of each game. If Mass Effect gets the treatment that Halo 1 and Halo 2 gets, it will be well worth it.
But see, that's what I'm concerned with, because what is primarily needed beyond the graphics for a remaster of the first one is a fully overhauled combat suite.
Yeah, I don't think they're going to do that.
But see, like, that's the problem. Like,
actually, do we know anything really? Do we know any details about this? No, right?
No, and that's what I'm saying. I'm only going to get so excited for this until I know the nitty gritty.
Sure.
I want to see what it looks like in engine, and I want to see what the combat suite is. I think creating a homogeneous combat suite for the three of them is the way to do it.
That would be cool. The one thing that Master Chief Collection does really well is if you go into the settings for the controller, you can choose the default layout for each game based on what it used to be. But then they also added a handful of universal layouts that will work the same for all of the games.
I don't care about the layout.
No, I know it's not the same thing as the combat, but like that was a thing that made it so that it was easy to bounce between games.
Sure.
Which I appreciated.
That's great. I don't care about that so much. But the thing is, also, there wasn't nearly as much of a change in the lay of the combat suite from Halo 1 to 2 to 3 as there was from Mass Effect 1 to 2 to 3. Obviously, there were some, but I mean, for the most part, it's you jump, you shoot, you.
Well, no, actually, Halo 2
melee.
Halo 2 confused the entire situation by adding dual wielding into it, which was crazy to me. This is a complete side note here because I've been playing Halo 2 again. Dual wielding was amazing. Yes. Why did we get rid of that? It was so much fun to mix and match weapons and just wreck everything in front of you.
Was it? It was still in 3.
I don't know that it was.
I think so.
If it was in 3, then certain things weren't single-handed anymore. Like the Needler wasn't single-handed.
The Needler went back to being
but it's not in the future. It's not in 4 or 5.
I'm pretty sure. So I think it was the post-Bungie ones, because I think Reach still had it as well.
Oh, did it?
I'm not as sure about it as I am about 3, but
yeah, I don't think
3.
Reach did.
I'm 99% sure had it, but yes, in particular, the Needler no longer was.
Got it. Anyway, dual wielding, lots of fun. Moving on.
Yes,
Mass Effect.
So yeah, the combat suite, and it's funny because after several week hiatus, I finally got back into being able to play a little bit. Football season is tough for me to play much, especially while we're doing the show, because basically what it goes is Monday night football, Tuesday night movie, Wednesday night recording, Thursday night football. Friday night is kind of just relax. That's usually family time because the whole family's together for dinner and either watch something, play something, whatever. Saturday, I tend to be if I'm going to do something social, that's it. Mm-hmm. Even now, and what that looks like in dramatically Spartan fashion as opposed to what it would look non-pandemic. And then Sunday is just football wall to wall. So basically, my only free time to play games is never. Maybe I get a little bit of time on a Friday. Maybe I get an hour before we record if I'm done with work early. Mm-hmm. Outside of football season, I have much more free time to do that. Got to play a little bit, though, on Monday because I was done with work super early, which never happens on Monday. So got to play for like 2 hours, and like that's what it is. To me, it's the other thing I'm interested in because this actually informs all those other things that I've just mentioned. I really hope they go back to doing it on the Unreal Engine because that's what the first 3 games were made on. Andromeda and everything in BioWare post 2015 has been made on Frostbite, as with all other EA games that were made in-house. Not something like Jedi Fallen Order wasn't made on it because Respawn started that game prior to being purchased by EA, but then it was released under EA's
moniker
auspices.
Yeah.
So that's one of the rare exceptions. The only situation like that allows it. Like all other EA games, Madden, the BioWare games, Star Wars Battlefront.
It's like a contract thing.
Anthem, all of those things. Well, so what happened was EA decided they were no longer going to pay licensing fees to outside development tools, and they developed their own in-house. They purchased or created from the ground up. I don't know if they actually own Frostbite or whatever.
Yeah, I think they built it, if I remember correctly, but I could be wrong.
And that is a big part of why there are so many issues with so many games. It works well for some games. It doesn't work well for others, but everyone's just got to suck it up and deal with it. We can talk about that more on when we continue. Actually, we've had a long break. When we continue our series on BioWare-related stuff on Game Bites, that will absolutely be a big part of one of the episodes. Andromeda, the combat suite is okay. The gameplay is a little rough because the way that it works, the enemies become very bullet spongy, and they don't have the same level of dynamic, like, damage done to different body parts. Like, there are headshots, but it's not as responsive as it was in 3.
Okay.
Or even 2, for that matter. In 1, it's the most common, but still it required less shots to kill someone, typically. But playing 1 was basically just spray and pray. You needed some tactical and, like skill in aiming and shooting in Andromeda. I actually really like what they did with the powers in Andromeda. That was a small, like, incremental upgrade over 3, but 3 is not offensive in any way, shape, or form. It actually holds up quite well, the power suite. That had the best gunplay in the series by far, in my opinion. I'm not saying it holds up with any other shooter per se, but just I derive a tremendous amount of joy from just going and fighting in Mass Effect 3.
Right.
So, to me,
if you could bring that to the other games, it'd be... Yeah,
if you want to update it slightly, and we might want to change a couple of things to stick within the world of what's going on in 1 and 2, I'm fine with that, but just generally, just taking 95% of what 3 was with an updated version of the technology and putting that across 1 and 2 would make things so much better.
Mm-hmm.
And it would make things like clean and consistent between all of them. Just put spackling a facelift on 1 doesn't make a lot of sense to me because the gameplay is so rough.
It'd be really interesting if they did something. I don't know the themes of the game because, like I said, I've only played through 1 a couple of times. 2, I think I maybe only played through half of it. I never played 3. But if they were able to do something like that, but then also just combine them all so that it's not like a choice between the games, that would be like some ridiculously epic long game. That would be ridiculous. That would be pretty cool.
Well, yeah, and that's I think the benefit to homogenizing, right? Just pick one suite and graft it onto all 3 of them.
That'd be cool.
All of the stuff is there for them to do.
That sounds insanely complicated from a technical perspective. I don't imagine.
But I'm not sure why that would be the case, though.
It was clearly enhanced and changed, like, structurally going forward, if the 1 is that much different than the other ones.
To a certain extent, but the thing is, like, the core like gameplay loop is still the same. It's a cover-based third-person shooter. You have powers, you have guns.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't know why you can't just tweak everything. I mean,
also, who knows how long they've been working on it, too, so it's possible.
Yeah, well, so the only real thing that you need to change from, like, a structural standpoint, like mapping it out and everything, is you just have to give us the A button to get in and out of cover. Because in the first one, you just walk up to and from cover, which sucks. But in 2 and 3, you press A and you snap to cover, you press A and you snap out of cover.
Nice.
And from 2 to 3, they evolve to, if you're against it and there's another thing, you could roll from one cover to the other. If you press forward, you can sprint out of cover. Like, just like the A button already does sprinting in 1, so just make it the action button like it is with the other 2 games.
Right.
And they're basically the same game now. Now you're just playing with sliders of damage. Okay, when you get shot in the head with anything over the most weak of guns, boom, headshot dead. That's what happens in 2 and 3. Why can't it happen in 1? That doesn't seem like a big fix to me.
Yeah, we'll see. There's no way to know unless we did it, and unless we had a deep dive from the developers. I'm sure it's a lot more complicated than that specifically, but
sure. But like the thing is, it's within the realm of like. I mean,
it doesn't seem like it's impossible. It seems like it's more possible than not. But it's also a matter of how much budget they were given, how much time. Like, let's be at the end of the day, this is EA.
Well, they have a budget.
Yeah, I know, but how much are they putting towards this?
Well, I just mean in general, EA has a budget.
They have it, but whether or not they use it for this is another thing.
Well, I don't know why you'd bother doing this without. I understand the point of it is that it's a cheap buck, but if you're going to do this, it's one of the most like below. I mean, it wouldn't be the first time that EA was out of touch with what their consumers wanted.
No.
If we're going to do this whole thing, I'm not saying you give it the budget that say Anthem got, but like why wouldn't you give it a budget commensurate to the point of doing this? Like, why do this if it's not going to be, I don't know, good?
We'll see. I mean, at the end of the day, like, there was really no other detail other than this legacy edition of the games coming out. So,
disagree.
What?
Disagree. N7 Day was quiet this year, quieter than other years. There was rumor of a panel of the voice actors getting together, and I never saw that.
Yeah, what was that? I didn't either.
Right, I was looking like, oh, surely it'll just be a few hours from now, because I think they timed the release of all this stuff to noon, I believe is when it came out.
Okay.
Everyone tweeted out their stuff about it, and I never saw the panel materialize.
Yeah.
But one person broke from the mold of everyone else, so that's Mike Gamble, who is the project director. He was the game director for Andromeda. He's been working on the series since the first one. He's always been an executive. He's now like been on it since like the main guys like Karpyshyn and all them left. Casey Hudson is obviously back running BioWare again, which they have a chance to make good games again if he stays in charge. But Mike Gamble tweeted out a photo, and it was not from the remaster.
Oh, cool.
So he very tacitly confirmed what we all knew was true, and that they do have a team working on the next Mass Effect game.
Nice.
It was cool. There was a lot of like forensic study of this photo because the character models seem like they may have been like assets that were like reclaimed from other stuff, including like character screens and like box art stuff, because one of them seems to very obviously be a very specific like low population character from the second game. And there's a couple other ones that like the silhouettes looked quite familiar as well, but it just seems probably like someone just did concept art and they just stuck that on there. But what's cool about it is the planetscape that they're on could literally be anything, doesn't matter, right? The ship or habitat that they're coming out of, though, is very reminiscent of the structures you see in Andromeda.
Cool.
So it would seem to indicate, and this is obviously very early, and that game's probably 5 years away, honestly. It would seem that they're pushing forward with the Andromeda plan, which to me actually makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, there's no reason that they can't turn the ship around.
Deeply imperfect game. Way over criticized, for sure. It was a good game. Not as good as the other three, but it's not a bad game. There was a lot of threads I really liked. There was, I could, like zooming out and looking at it, I could see how there could have been a really good game that came out of it. They just really, really botched the execution of it. And again, that's something we can get into on the Game Bites episode when we do that topic, because that is like an hour-long conversation in of itself.
All right, well, keep up with us on Game Bites, and eventually we'll get some more Mass Effect information out there. I'm looking forward to it. I've been wanting to replay the games anyway, so a remaster sounds fun to me. Also, my Series X should be coming in a couple days, and I'm pretty excited about it.
Has there been an issue with them catching on fire? Is that what I'm hearing?
No.
Well, I don't know. Was it yesterday or today that was the launch date?
Yesterday.
Okay, so I didn't have the pre-order. I'm probably not going to get one this year, but early next year, I think I'll be looking into getting one.
Sure.
Once some of the games come out, like, I don't know, Cyberpunked and all that stuff. And
she's Cyberpunked. Anyway,
yeah, I surely made that post. I made that past tense for sure.
Ashton Kutcher as a robot. Oh, it's man.
Like a different game where it's not Keanu Reeves, it's Ashton Kutcher.
Yes. Alternate timeline.
I saw something online when I was just kind of scrolling through Twitter briefly. I wasn't paying attention. And it was a lot of stuff about Heat and the Xbox, and I saw flames, and I'm like, are they blowing up already?
Probably not. No, I don't think that's true.
Okay. No, I'm asking because you would be much more
I haven't heard of anything reasonable, so no. But
it wouldn't be the first time a console launched.
No, not at all. Things will go wrong. Don't get me wrong.
Especially this year of all years.
If 1% of the machines have an issue, it's a big number.
Yeah, I mean, if they launched, I don't know, 10 million consoles the first week or whatever, like 1% of 10 million is a lot.
Here's the thing. When you're a new tech adopter, there's an inherent risk. Like,
sure, I would say, though, generally, and again, I'm not saying this is happening.
Fire is not what you want.
Fire and explosion, though, is
understand.
That's not something you expect as an early
not excusing that.
Sure.
No, not excusing that for sure. But I will say, like, I'm sure whatever issues you come across, they'll do right by it. They did in the past, and they'll do it again. Like, it's fine. Everybody needs to calm down when things go bad.
I know it was a long time ago. We're talking about 15 years now. But does everyone remember how Microsoft handled the Red Ring of Death in Xbox 360? They handled it really fucking well. Actually, I've never seen a company handle something like that since.
Yeah, I only know that it was handled well because I had it. And I had it.
Well, me too. And that's my point, because they extended the factory warranty, which only was like originally, a year? They extended it to like 8 years.
Yeah, so...
And I know because I had a launch 360.
Yep.
And the Red Ring primarily thing happened within the first of 2 years. Mine got it after like 4, and I got a brand new Xbox 360.
Yeah.
For free.
Yeah, that's awesome. I got the Red Rings. I had it repaired, and then I traded it in for a 360 Elite, and with a friend that worked at GameStop, and he did it for like as himself and got like a deal on it. So it did not cost me much, which was fantastic. But like the fact that you were able to get it fixed for free, and then you have to hold. You won't have it for a bit. Like, it's no big deal.
Yeah,
like
that was the biggest imposition, was that I didn't have a console for like a week.
Yeah. Oh no. Okay.
Got it for free. They shipped it. They shipped mine out for free. They shipped the new one to me for free. It was all free.
Yeah.
And it was 4 years after I bought it. it's like you don't get a better deal.
Yeah, that was
the amount of
goodwill
they earned with all of that. Like if they just keep that same energy, like they'll win the console wars just over.
Yeah, we'll see what happens. Well, do you want to get into some fun and games?
Yeah, sure.
Let's do it. This week I have for you, which awesome 80s Harrison Ford hero are you? That's the title of the quiz. And when I say...
By the way, how did Harrison Ford have the time to do all of these movies?
That's a great question. This quiz is also from thequiz.com. How would you get from point A to point B? Millennium Falcon, Air Force One, biplane, police, spinner.
Air Force One was in 1997.
Mm-hmm. It's more about how you relate to the character, maybe? I don't know.
Well, I just know that you said 80s Harrison Ford.
Oh, no, I'm with you.
Wait, sorry. You said Falcon, Air Force One, and what were the other two?
Biplane and police, spinner.
I'm going to go with Millennium Falcon.
I think it's the only answer, and I'm pretty sure just by that alone, you'll probably get Han Solo. What would be your ideal setting for an adventure? A dark, grim future? Space? On a plane? Ancient ruins in Egypt and around the world?
Yeah, we're going to end up Han Solo here because I'm going space.
Yeah, obviously. What would you do if you thought someone was an enemy? Shoot first, ask questions later, administrate the Voight-Kampff test, whip the gun out of their hands, then tell them to start talking, let them talk, but have your blaster ready under the table.
Yeah, it's going to be that one.
Let's keep going this route. I'd be very impressed if you don't get Han Solo. What is your weapon of choice? A whip, MP5 submachine gun, a blaster, the 2019 Detective Special.
I don't know. I do like the whip. I gotta be honest.
Do the whip. Do the whip. It's fine. What would you do if captured by enemies? Wait until their guards are down, then break free and kill them. Watch them to see what I could learn about them. I trust my friends to come and rescue me. Pretend to join them, and then betray them.
I'm going to say observe the enemies, I think.
Okay.
Something like that. Observe the guards.
What would you add to the outfit to make you really stand out? A hat, a trench coat, a tie, a vest.
I'm going to go with hat.
You didn't watch How I Met Your Mother, did you?
Nah.
Never mind then. If you weren't being an action hero, what would you be doing? Smuggling, Air Force pilot, a teacher, a replicant.
I guess Air Force pilot.
Okay. You were a spice runner. You were a stormtrooper. If you could learn more about anything, what would it be? Origami, ancient artifacts, giant space slugs, hostage negotiations.
Was hostage negotiations all one answer there?
Yes.
Sorry, you paused so weirdly in that.
Hostage negotiations.
Yeah, let's go with that one. I don't know.
Okay, interesting. Who is your ideal woman? The strong, independent type? A traditional woman? A sweet, quiet girl? An high-class woman? Wrong.
What exactly is a traditional woman?
I don't know.
Is this like 1950s nuclear family?
Maybe.
Where she just cleans the house all day? Like,
Maybe.
that's what we're going with?
It's not great.
Jesus Christ.
This is not the best question. I think N high-class woman is probably the greatest answer I've seen.
Yeah, that's the one I'm going to go with. I'm not entirely sure what it means.
Sure.
I'm confused by the grammar and punctuation, but let's go with it.
What is your greatest fear? Robots, prison, snakes, terrorist, and high-class woman.
Let's go with snakes.
Okay.
It's become more of a fear for me because there are so many of them that live around my house. And I'm constantly stepping on, like, nearly on them. And I don't know how I haven't gotten bitten. And so I'm now getting, like, a thing about that.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, I can now count on, like, 3 hands how many times I've stepped within 6 inches of one.
It's not great.
Wearing shorts and sandals.
Yeah, I don't like that at all.
And I'm like, honestly, at this point, I'm wondering if we have dumb snakes, because why haven't they bit me?
You have dumb snakes. If you were stranded on a...
Because honestly, why haven't they bit me at this point?
If you were stranded on a desert island, what would you bring? Lots of Chinese food, Chewy, a pistol to hunt wild animals. I only need my bare hands to survive.
Now, is that bear B-A-R-E or B-E-A-R?
It's like the right to bear arms.
Everyone has a right to hang a pair of bear arms in their house. Sorry, I'm still laughing about dumb snakes. I'm gonna go with a pistol.
Okay. I'm gonna go with Chewie.
Yeah, I mean, that's a good answer.
What is the worst fate you can imagine? Finding out that my life is a lie, being forced to take part in a bloody human sacrifice, seeing my wife and daughter executed before my eyes. What is that?
The fugitive.
Right. Being held against my will.
I know. I mean, I too am still caught up on, like, this is supposed to be 80s movies,
right?
Not his 90s catalog.
Mm-hmm.
Although I guess technically in Air Force One they also. Actually, that's probably
what. Yeah.
Because I don't. Did he have a kid?
I don't know. I haven't seen it. I think I saw The Fugitive once a long time ago, and I remember it more vividly just because of John Mulaney breaking it down.
I've seen U.S. Marshals twice.
Yes,
but I've never seen.
Yeah. U.S. Marshals. I remember liking that.
It's a good movie.
Yeah.
Great 90s action.
Yeah, for sure.
Let's go with the wife.
All right. Yeah, that seems terrifying. Why are people attracted to you? I'm scruffy looking. I'm a scruffy looking nerf herder.
Wait. We're breaking news here. You're telling me that people are attracted to me?
Yes. I'm scruffy looking, but in a lovable way. I'm the mysterious type. My daring approach to life. I was going to say darling. My daring approach to life. I'm a natural born leader.
Ooh. I am a natural born leader. But I was going to go with my scruffy-looking nerf herder. I mean, my scruffy-looking but lovable looks.
Who is your greatest enemy? The Nazis, replicants, the Galactic Empire, terrorists?
This is weird because this is one of those multiple choice things where you're supposed to cross out the two answers that are the same because the Galactic Empire are Nazis.
Right.
Let's go with Nazis, though. It's a little more topical.
Okay. Who would you disguise yourself as to escape your enemies? A Nazi officer, a stormtrooper, an innocent civilian, and high-class woman. No, a patron at a Chinese restaurant.
They're really caught up on that scene from fucking...
Seriously.
Temple of Doom. Actually, that was one of my favorite stupid jokes that they did in Family Guy. When he... I don't even remember what the setup to it was, but...
I know what you're talking about, yes.
Peter at odds, and Peter goes... Oh, that's funny. What are you going to do to get the antidote? And she goes, what antidote? It's to the poison you just drank. Let's go with a civilian.
All right. I mean, I'm pretty sure you wore a Nazi helmet once, but whatever.
I didn't. What? People wore it. I didn't wear it.
What is your greatest strength? Not letting my emotions get in the way of my work. My knowledge in my field of study. I never give up. I've got tons of tricks up my sleeve for all kinds of situations.
I'm really upset that never give up wasn't followed by never surrender.
Yeah. If it was, it's the only acceptable answer.
I'm going to go with the emotions not getting in the way of my work, though.
Okay. What is your greatest weakness? I'm far too trusting of people. I often feel like I'm in over my head. I'm too damn stubborn. I tend to get influenced by greed.
I guess let's go with the stubborn part. Although the thing about you're far too trusting, wasn't that Leia and not Han?
I don't know.
Isn't that Moff Tarkin in the first one when he's threatening to blow up Alderaan and what's the location of the Rebel base? And she says Dantooine, and he goes, "You're far too trusting," and he blows up Alderaan right there.
Who would you want as your sidekick? A small Chinese boy? I prefer to go it alone. A large hairy alien, a mysterious quiet cop.
Oh, large hairy alien for sure. Although I'm a big fan of Short Round.
Yeah, hold on to your potatoes. It's a great line. Okay. Large hairy alien. What kind of animal symbolizes you? Wolf, jackal, lemur, or lion?
Wolf.
What is your guilty pleasure? Tinder, Chinese food, fight clubs, or Chinese food? Jesus Christ. Recreational drugs. They really are hung up on that scene. Yeah, they only watch the first 10 minutes.
Yeah, and then it's like not a part of it in any way, shape, or form ever again.
Right, like so much so that like they didn't say Short Round as the option.
Yeah, I'm going to go Chinese food just because I had it for dinner a couple hours ago and it was delightful.
What'd you have?
General Tso's chicken.
Nice. If you had a son, what do you think he would be like? An evil, power-hungry maniac? A greaser type? A rebel? A modern citizen? I would never have children. A model citizen. I said modern citizen. A model citizen.
Could you...
He's a modern citizen. He's just a regular person today that exists.
How many options was that
4.
exactly?
The greaser type rebel is 1.
Okay. Let's go with that one. Okay. Why not?
What was your childhood like? Typical Boy Scout type? My parents were strict but let me be independent. I had a rough upbringing. I don't remember much.
I guess let's go with the Boy Scout type.
Okay. What would convince you to do something that you're reluctant to do? If someone I cared about wanted me to? If it meant saving my many innocent lives? There's a very odd capitalization thing happening here. If it was a situation where I had to keep evil people from succeeding, I would have to be blackmailed.
So this is what was going to make me do something I didn't want to do?
Yes.
I guess was it the one about saving innocent lives?
Okay. Out of these people, who do you think would be most likely to betray you? One of your sworn protectors, an old friend, your employer, a beautiful woman, and high-class woman.
Let's go with an high-class woman on this one.
Okay. What is the most important thing to you? Family, discovery, romance, work?
Family.
All right. Vin Diesel. See your results.
I'm not even drinking a Corona.
Hey, you got President Marshall, who is decidedly not from the 80s.
Decidedly not. He is from 1997.
Congratulations. You are President Marshall, Harrison Ford's character from the amazing 90s action movie Air Force One. They even know! Air Force One. This fictional U.S. president knows a thing or two about fighting off bad guys and save the day in the end. I in my head read that as fingering bad guys. And I was like,
oh wow,
this is a different movie entirely.
I have seen that movie a few times. It's been a couple of years.
That is not what happens.
I'm quite certain he fingered no one in that
movie. Jesus. Whoa, okay, let's get into our flick of the week, shall we? Blade Runner, released in 1982, rated R with an hour and 57-minute runtime. A Blade Runner must pursue and terminate 4 replicants who stole a ship in space and have returned to Earth to find their creator. I have small backstory with this. We might have mentioned it on the show before. I have a little bit of a backstory with Blade Runner here, and that is that I have attempted to watch this movie a number of times, and maybe this was my third attempt, like third sit down with the movie. The previous 2 times, I normally don't turn off a movie, and I normally finish what I'm watching. I guess I had just put it on way too late in the past.
That's exactly how, this is my second attempt at it. That's exactly how it went for me as well. I started watching it at 10:30 at night and realized, I'm going to fall asleep. Let me get back to this. And I just never did.
Yeah, exactly. And so it was never really an issue with the movie itself, just that it was late and I was tired.
Yeah.
This time I watched it through this time, but I wasn't tired going in and I fell asleep. I fell asleep 45 minutes into the movie.
The same thing happened to me. About the turn of the second to third act, during a pretty crucial scene.
Yeah.
I was really struggling to stay awake. I kind of slapped myself, got up, walked around, came back, made it through the rest of the movie. It's probably one of the very few scenes that had really crucial dialogue too, and I just didn't have it in me to rewind and watch it again. And honestly, though, I don't think I missed much.
Probably not.
We'll get to that more.
I fell asleep, woke up, saw the last 30 minutes of the movie, then rewound it and watched that midsection, and I'm pretty sure I would have had the same experience with it either way.
Yeah, I think so for me too. I'm just more frustrated with myself than anything.
Sure. So why don't you, let's kick it off with your tweet length review.
Sure. A contemplation of the nature of self and oppression that's more interested in just contemplating it and not saying much about it. Big on vibe and aesthetic, light on plot. 6 out of 10.
Nice. Oh, how? We're on the same score train here. I said It would have been awesome to see this for the first time 38 years ago. However, I did not. While I can recognize what the movie has done for its genre, Blade Runner really just makes me realize how far we've come. 6 out of 10.
Yeah, I mean, it does feel like we have a lot of similar thoughts. I will say, I probably agree with your thought, like, if I had seen it then, maybe I would have more appreciation for it.
Yeah.
That being said, it really didn't age that poorly. It's not super reliant on CGI in the way that other movies of the time
It's more the
are.
storytelling that aged poorly.
Yeah,
or lack thereof.
It's a throwback to, because it's very Western-y, right?
Yes.
It's that Western in space where it's big on, like I said, contemplation and mood and aesthetic and the vibe of what's going on. But man, there is a story to be told here.
Yeah.
And they just don't tell it.
They don't, and they keep skirting it. Like the idea, like, and which is what I think that's what I really liked about it. It's very big. The idea, like, it's contemplating being, right? Like, and a great medium for that is something becoming aware that it is not natural.
And that's what was frustrating me, right? Because it's obvious from early on in the movie that, like, the nature of one's self and consciousness and all of that and personhood is here, and they do an okay part, like, bit of that, right? Like, like there is some of it there. I'd like a little bit more meat on the bone there, but it's okay, that part of it.
Yeah.
But it was only at the end of the movie that I realized how important the idea of, like, oppression and, like, slavery was supposed to be this movie. I was like, oh, wow, you guys would have crushed this if, you ever actually said that at any point before right now in the final 10 minutes.
Right.
Like, this would have been a really good movie if you actually gave us
something.
The replicants' thoughts on this. Or it doesn't even have to be verbally. It doesn't have to be exposition even. Like, some would be nice, but, like, show me them breaking free of their chains.
Right.
And it makes this so easy to empathize with. And it makes this a really strong movie, even if you want to go super Spartan on the dialogue to stay true to that Western sensibility. Show me them rebelling against their masters.
Right. Even moments of quiet reflection, like where they're clearly thinking deeply about something, which they.
But it's like they could be thinking about anything.
Even that though, like that was few and far between. Like you have to, if you're going to do that, you also have to choose your beats, right? You have to say, like, decide specifically when to do that, like where something just happened or something, or it leads into something else happening. But they did like a lot of that quiet contemplation randomly, it seemed.
Yes. Like, the only one of the replicants where you actually really get something that kind of feels, and it's not super tangible, like what, again, like she's contemplating, but Pris, when she's sitting in JF, whatever the fuck his name was, his house, it's like, okay, she's really deep in it.
Yeah. And,
like, that was actually kind of pretty powerful as she's watching all of these creations of his, like, flirt around her, like,
Yeah.
Like, that. But it feels like it's like, okay, you almost got it.
Yeah, you were like, I mean? You were right there. Yeah,
like, you're so close to getting it. You're so close to getting it. Like, that's like a foul tip.
Yeah. God. That was. It's. I think that's pretty much the entire movie is feeling like, oh, there's something cool that can happen here, and then it just doesn't.
Yeah,
and you're like, damn, like. What's happening? Like, what's up? Like, it's like, are you just all like, you off? Like, I understand. Like, I know it's an older movie of this genre, like the earlier time frame of this genre. But it's like, and that's why I say, like, I can appreciate something like this paving the way, because if you could see past it and realize there was something pretty deep happening there, they just never actually gave it to the audience.
I felt so similar watching this, and I know they're only a couple years apart. Actually, maybe they're the same year. I don't remember. I felt so similar watching this as how I felt watching Dune, where it's like,
yes.
Oh, wow, there is something there, and you guys just didn't do it.
Yeah, like, it's frustrating.
And yeah, I'm so frustrated with it because I'm like, I want to like you. Let me like you.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, you won't.
I'm trying to give you my money, but you don't want it.
I'm trying to give you my, like, respect and attention and adoration here,
yeah.
and you are rejecting it. I just... Again, like this, similar to Dune, this movie, there was both too much dialogue and
not enough
dialogue.
Yeah.
Because the scenes where they really cut it up, they don't fucking say anything that matters.
Yeah.
It's all like some of it is so jargony that it's like, I can't really follow what you guys are getting at here.
All right.
And sometimes it's just like totally conversational. It's like, this has nothing to do with anything.
Pulling all the way back for a second, we have this corporation that creates these replicants. These replicants are cybernetic organ. They're AI that look like people.
I was a little confused on that too, because it's like, it would feel like, okay, well, just cut one of these things and like it should be pretty obvious it's not human. Like I think back to like Alien, where it's like, the cyborgs look and sound and act so realistic, but then they start spraying white liquid everywhere, and like, oh, that's not human.
Yeah, so we have this company that makes these I don't know, these replicants. Thank you, and they give them a short lifespan specifically because their technology is so advanced that they can think, which is a blessing and a curse in the creation of these replicants, because that could mean that they could be very efficient and very logical and methodical in their actions. However, there's a bell curve there, right? And then all of a sudden they're just ripping you to pieces. Like, it's like
Westworld, where it's like, oh, like eventually it might become sentient.
Right.
But in this case, they're post that, like, oh, it will always become sentient.
Yeah.
The point is, let's just nip it in the bud short enough where it can't become sentient enough.
Exactly. And
like, we know it's going to happen.
Which is just dark. Like, that's a dark thing that they're doing. And especially once that actually would add weight to the idea of the character. It does add weight to the idea of the replicant becoming aware and then finding out about the life expectancy and then having to reconcile that. That whole thing is interesting.
You know what I realized?
What's that?
I realized we were talking about, oh, do this but better. You know what did this exact story but better? 1/6 of Cloud Atlas. It's very obvious that David Mitchell saw Blade Runner or read Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep by OK Dick. He did one of those two things, maybe both. Yeah. And was like, oh, wow, I could do that better. And then he did.
Yeah, I mean, even strong influences and what makes Ex Machina so amazing, too. Like, and that's more of the other side of the human dealing with it, where the robot is just smarter. Like, it's just...
Yeah, well, but it's also like before, like, the veil is lifted.
Yeah.
Where it's like, oh, so surely we won't be the one to create the sentient one that can become a human that will kill us all.
Right.
And then he does.
Yeah.
And Cloud Atlas and Blade Runner have done the just beyond the veil, where it's like, oh, it's going to become sentient and have feelings and thoughts. Let's just get rid of it before it can do that. Right. We don't have to feel icky about killing it anymore. You know what I mean?
Sure. Yeah, it's again, it's a great concept. It's cool. It could be explored in a really deep, interesting way. It should be the point of
Cloud Atlas did it where you have, I don't know, a violent overthrow of the systems and government, because the replicants, in that case it's fabricants, they even sound like the same thing.
Yeah.
They realize, oh wow, we're being executed en masse because they don't want to treat us like people, even though we are people.
But I feel like the point of telling that story is to get you to think about your own being, right? And your own, like that, like to make you almost think about like what is life? What is it to exist? It's to get into your head and have you think about that. And what it seems to almost do right is it does that where Harrison Ford's Rickard, what is his name? Deckard. Rickard. Is it Rick Deckard? Is Rick part of it?
Was it Frank?
It's Rick Deckard. Sorry, just pulled it up. Rickard. I put it all together. It's like it's almost as if he's the proxy for.
I had a moment where I before I turned the movie on, where I was like, "What's his name again? Is it Deckard Shaw?" And I was like, "Nope, that's Fast and the Furious. It's something Deckard."
But it's like he's the audience, like watching these replicants, and like especially like the ones that seem to be coming, like really coming to grips with like existence and understanding it and trying to. And then a very rapey scene that really throws the whole thing for a loop, which I was not a fan of. But the idea of like you were...
Oh, yeah, what was that all about? I think I was a little kind of dozing.
Yeah, probably the best time for you to fall asleep, because it was odd. It was not...
What was going on in the early 80s? Because I don't remember. Did I tell you last week about watching Evil Dead and...
Yeah, the tree rape?
The actual rape.
Yep.
The tree rape that happened in that.
Yeah.
Also... Is it a Harrison Ford thing? Because Harrison Ford in the 80s thing?
Maybe.
Because I even as a young kid watching the scene, it never really sat right with me when him and Elsa hook up in Last Crusade.
Yeah. Yeah, it seems forced. There's a lot of force. And I don't like it. I don't like it at all.
No.
Anyway, that whole thing happens. But it's almost as if it seems like he's supposed to be your proxy, right? Like thinking about it and helping you think about it too. Like the idea of like, yeah, but what does it mean to be alive?
She's not even real.
What does it mean if like if you're aware of your existence, then do you exist? Like, I think therefore I am like what is it?
Yes.
What like and to make you think about it. And then it's like I feel like him being I guess spoilers. The movie's old. Watch it
nearly 40 years
or not. I thought something early on in the movie of where it was going. And then when it got there, I was like, that makes sense. I called that 2 hours ago. I fell asleep in the middle of it, called it before I fell asleep. And then we got there and I'm right. And then I went online after.
What's that?
Oh, we'll get there in a second. Afterwards, I went online and I looked and I was like, wait, this is an open-ended question? Like, I thought this was just a thing. Like, he's a replicant, right? Like, there's no, like, in my mind, there was no question.
Oh, no, it's definitely always been left open as a... Now, I don't know if the director's cut gave a more firm answer. I don't know. And I don't know if they answer it in 2049 because I've done my best to avoid all information about that movie.
Sure.
Ultimately, I think we're going to do it for the show.
Oh, yeah, I'd like to watch it. Yeah.
I want to watch it. I just don't want to watch it until I had seen this.
Sure, of course.
To my knowledge, though, and I knew that before having ever seen this, that I know it's a big cliffhanger at the end of or like a big discussion piece after the movie's done, whether or not he's a replicant. To me, I'm going to take a very pragmatic view on this. Mm-hmm. He gets his ass all sorts of kicked this whole movie, so I don't think he can be a replicant.
Interesting take. In my mind, he is some next, maybe a version 10 that is completely like made of grown tissue or something, because he
well, that's the other thing, is he seems to very obviously not be made of fake things.
Right. And so maybe
made of human material.
Maybe he's like, I don't know, what is it, Nexus 7 or whatever the next one is, right?
That's what they were Nexus 6.
Right? Maybe that's what he is, because the whole idea of like the unicorn dream and then the origami unicorn at the end was like, oh, like, is this not just the whole idea of we know your dreams? Like, we know, like that we told, like that's a line in the movie. So I thought it was.
Yeah, I was honestly mad about the unicorn at the end because it's so heavy-handed. Because, like, you can make it an interesting, compelling discussion piece, and when you start to do that sort of shit, it feels like you only kind of stumbled on it at the end of the script, where it was like,
yeah,
oh wow, I guess you could kind of see there might be a false or like a duality thing here, where maybe it could be either thing. You know what? Let's reinforce that by dropping a fucking unicorn on the floor. And I'm like, no, fuck you. Be more subtle.
Yeah.
In a movie in which you are taking a big step back and putting a middle finger up to me with how much you're not going to say in show.
Yeah.
You don't get to have that at the end where you're too heavy-handed because you've been way too...
That's
subtle.
That's totally fair. That's a fair criticism. But that being said, they did do it. And if you're gonna do it, he's a replicant, right? Like, in my mind, I don't understand how there's a question based on the scenes, what they with what they have given me. That is a very reasonable conclusion. Otherwise, why is Edward James almost making unicorn origami and putting it on the floor? There's no other reason for it.
See, like I said, I did kind of doze at times, so I feel like maybe I might have missed something.
Well, actually, you know what? You did. Oh, okay. So you remember the unicorn dream.
I remember the unicorn dream. The scene that actually I'm very hazy on is the scene when Roy and the other replicant go to the doctor's office.
Okay.
Like I remember a little bit of them asking. They're trying to get to the point of, is there a way for us to continue living?
Basically,
right?
Yeah.
And they're going to shut down.
And then he breaks his head.
I saw that and I was like, wow, I didn't realize that George R.R. Martin stole that from this movie. Because it is literally a shot-for-shot remake of the mountain crushing.
Yeah.
Oberyn Martell's head. Spoiler alert for Game of Thrones.
No.
Like exactly the same thing.
Yeah.
But that being said, I don't recall all the dialogue that happens there. I definitely dozed off between them showing up at the office and him killing him.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, well, I not dozed off, like I was on the edge of it, where you're just not retaining anything that's coming into your brain.
Gotcha. Yeah. Well, I don't think that's really that important. It was when we were introduced to that character the first time, and the character that Deckard basically rapes. They have a conversation.
Rebecca, was that her name?
What?
Rachel.
That sounds right. They have a conversation about like her dreams, and the creator talks about, we know the dreams, we gave them to them. Like that whole thing, the dream with the unicorn and the unicorn origami, like that's all. Like it's Chekhov's origami. Like it's not like he did the origami in the beginning of the movie, and then we brought it back, and it was a unicorn, and it connects it connects all of those dots.
Yeah, I get that part of it. The thing is, though, this is the problem with this sort of approach to movies. I'm becoming more and more frustrated with this sort of, we're creating open-ended questions and all that and stuff like that. Like it's becoming frustrating to me now, because a lot of times the logic within the movie ends up breaking itself. Like you can stay consistent to that storyline, but it breaks other things that happen. And so like the Nexus 6 was the most advanced production thing. There is an experimental one that I guess hadn't been seen before because it can pass the whatever the fuck test it was.
Yeah.
And that's what he does to Rachel. And he basically assumes, he doesn't actually even say for sure that she fails the test. It's just, he has a sneaking suspicion that she's a replicant.
Right.
Because there's inconsistencies and all that. But she largely passes the things that test is created to prove, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that's already the next advanced model. For him to be a replicant, he'd have to be an even more advanced.
No, and I actually do think that that's the point, because I do think he is an even more advanced than that, because the idea of bringing him in...
that he's really like the next
like,
6 or 8.
It basically like bringing him in, like it was very forced. He has to be the one to do this. Basically, I feel like the entire point, I think, was to get him in front of her in an interview situation with the judgment of she is a replicant, or thinking about it and never once questioning himself.
I get that, but see, this is what I'm saying about... Okay, so we can take the through line of we want to say that he's a replicant and all of this is to show us that.
Yeah.
Fine, let's hold that as true.
Sure.
It then starts to break the whole plot of the movie. Because...
What plot?
Well,
sorry. I didn't want to be that mean about it, but I don't think it was very good.
No, thin though it is, right? The whole point of... It's obvious that at this stage in the game, there are no Blade Runners.
Mm-hmm.
They have to bring one out of retirement.
Mm-hmm.
Like, for that justification to work, it also would mean, and I understand that this is a dystopic world and whatever, but the level of complicity by the police department with this corporation in order to run this test, the amount of money spent on the backstory and creating him, implanting him in this world, the world already knows that this replicant exists. It wasn't like one of those situations where, it's not like something like Memento where it's he just wakes up in this moment. I get that's not what happens, right? But in that movie, but where he's just he's waking up and he's a part of this world. Sorry, Total Recall would have been a better call, which also I think is a Philip K. Dick story. Where, he just wakes up and hey, people know him. But it's 4 people, right? It's 4 people who have to pretend and hide. There's 2, he is an ingrained part of this world. So you break the whole world that you're in and the whole plot by making him a replicant, honestly.
But do that many people know him? I feel like it is only that handful.
I mean, it felt like he had a reputation.
A fake, but a reputation that was created. It was fabricated.
Yeah, I don't know. It just feels inconsistent. It doesn't feel
well. At the end of the day, if that's what the story that you want to tell, that's actually a pretty cool story to do, right? Convince the audience that he's not, while turning him into thinking that he is, and then maybe he is or he isn't by the end. That is a cool story to do, but that's not the story that they were doing.
Yeah, so that's my.
That's your point. Yeah, pick a lane.
I don't know.
Pick a thing. Pick something. Just decide what you want to do before you start shooting, maybe.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah. It feels like they were trying to do too many different things at once, and it just becomes this kind of garbled mess.
Yeah.
Because I'm okay to a certain extent with some of that duality, and we're not 100% sure. One that did it pretty well was Annihilation.
Mm-hmm.
That wasn't an offensive version of that to me. The way that it ends with some questions to be asked about all of that, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I don't want to say it, I don't on the show, but that's not that old of a movie. It's only a couple of years old, so I don't like spoiling that.
No, that movie should definitely not be spoiled for you. I really want to watch it. I've got the 4K version of it. I really want to watch it on my brand new TV. I'm terrified to watch it.
Well, this time you can do it like with the lights on, and you can do it at like 11 a.m. or something like that. Yeah. We saw it at like 11 a.m., but we were in a dark theater, and we had a guy sitting right behind us.
Yeah, it was weird. It was an awkward situation.
Yeah, it was weird. And then your cat haunted me at night. Yeah. But no, it's definitely not as creepy watching it. Watching it the second time, because I've now seen it 3 or 4 times. Mm-hmm. And actually, that movie plays wild tricks with your mind, because watching it now, knowing what's coming, like the second time I watched it, I was like, specifically the scene in the lighthouse, like the final part of the scene in the lighthouse, mm-hmm. when she makes her realization. Watching that when we were in the theater, it felt like it went on for 20 minutes. Yeah. It's like 3 minutes long. Yeah.
I had a feeling.
Actually, I think I mentioned it. It was like literally 2.5 to 3 minutes long. But regardless, getting back to this one. And I've I expressed some of this when we did the Joker episode, right? Where it frustrated me so much, because on this case, like, they telegraph it on the front end, where I literally groaned when they telegraph that it's going to be like one of those, did it happen, did it not? Mm-hmm. Is it real, is it not things? They said it right in the first 3 minutes in such a ham-handed way. And I'm like, come on. And then when you take that whole thing, it's it just breaks the whole logic of the movie, when if what you're holding is true, is that the other thing could be true, mm-hmm. it breaks the logic of what actually happens, or breaks, honestly, the viewing experience. There was another movie I was thinking about recently too that did something like that. Even in Inception, it works, mm-hmm. largely. But in the end,
I think it works in Inception specifically because that's not really the point by the end. It was world building, great storytelling, fascinating movie with a
almost
twist.
More important than the fact that whether or not he's dreaming it or not, right? Much more important than that. That's just really kind of the cherry on top,
right?
Whereas in this, it's both a bug and a feature.
Mm-hmm.
But also I've long said, just based on my knowledge of the way physics work, Inception, I feel it's pretty obvious that it had to have happened, because that's just how physics work. When a top is spinning, that as soon as they start to lose momentum, they have to fall down. And that was the whole point of his totem, was that it should never lose momentum and wobble, because it is perfect.
Sure. Well, that's did we ever do Inception?
I don't remember.
Yeah, I don't think we did, because we would have had this conversation, and I think I might have won you over, because
I know you and I have had this conversation before, both on and off the show, just not for that movie specifically.
Yeah.
Regardless, let's get back to.
Doesn't change the fact that this movie's bad. No, sorry.
Yeah, let's table the whole discussion of whether or not he's a replicant and tackle any other thing that we have.
I don't like the forced, mysterious character that we don't know anything about, which also, I don't mean to tie it back into the whole, is it
all of them?
Well, yeah, but no, specifically Gaff.
Which one was Gaff?
Edward James Olmos, the Doomsday Killer.
Funny thing about that was, I spent the whole movie trying to figure out who Edward James Olmos was in this movie.
Yeah. Oh.
Because, is he playing an Asian guy?
I have no idea what's going on.
Because
I don't know what the character is supposed to be.
Well, there's that, and that's my point. Well, the combination of the heavy Asian presence in 2019 LA, mm-hmm. the fact that he does the origami,
and he was able to speak the language of the Asian character that was serving him the food.
Totally forgot about that, but that too, and also just the way that they dress him and do makeup and have his facial hair. It would conjure the image of an Asian man.
That's a good point. I don't really know what was going on there. But the thing is, even that confusion aside, I don't understand what that character was, and I just didn't really.
Well, he was a cop, I guess, but also he's a cripple.
That's the thing. It was he's a cop, or was he a previous Blade Runner, or was he supposed to be was he supposed to have some connection to Deckard, but doesn't, like, and it was weird. And then he has three scenes, and they're all over the place, and they don't interlock at all. It was very weird.
It seems like he's supposed to be a regular old cop, and they're doing the whole like thing where cops don't like the feds. Or,
okay, yeah, maybe
like, go to Mass Effect. Like, you know, CSEC doesn't like Spectres. Like, they don't like someone who's above their authority, who's not like dyed in the wool, like everyman cop or whatever.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like your regular soldier doesn't like special forces, whatever. Like, you know, there's always that thing where like the quote unquote special version of them, like they don't, like the everyman version of it doesn't like. The only thing I'll say is the character matters at all if we're going to hold that he is definitely a replicant, because then he's clearly meant to be his minder.
That was so that maybe that's the case, but then also like, he almost seems like he's too jaded and he's too old for this shit, if that's the case, right? And he's like, he doesn't really care whether or not they are seen as humans. Like, you do you. It feels like what he's getting at by the end of the movie when he's...
Which is funny because, like, and I don't know how old he is exactly, but, like, that's almost 40 years ago. Edward James Olmos is not that old then.
Yeah. Dude, I have no idea what was going on. It was that character. It was a strange character. The whole movie's strange, which is like, I can get behind weird, right? Like, I'm okay with a weird movie. That's fine, but do something. Like, it didn't do anything for me.
Yeah, weird for a purpose. Are we creating this weird alternate world? Are we doing the quirky fun thing? Like, what is going on exactly?
What are the rules?
Yeah, what are the rules? Like.
Yeah, I don't know.
It was funny to me, like, discovering, so during the credits, like, rolling in the beginning, there was a name, was it like W. Emerson something or W something Emerson? I forget the name. And I was like, that name seems vaguely familiar. And then he showed up on screen. I was like, oh my God, I only know him as an old man. How old is he in real life? And it was the police captain or whatever. He was the guy he was the train conductor in Wild Wild West. He been in a lot of other things as well, but that's what immediately jumped into my mind.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and I don't remember his name, but that's the guy who's the train conductor in
Emmett Walsh.
Yeah, that's it. I don't know why I thought it was a WM, whatever.
Yeah, Emmett Walsh. Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, the train conductor. That Wild Wild West came up before when I was searching for something. Just
no, wasn't it Wide West? Wasn't it?
Well, yeah. Oh, I searched for that, and Wild Wild West is what came back, and Diane Kruger effect. This I don't know. I do want to watch. I want to watch Blade Runner 2049. I'm curious about it. Aesthetically, I think it was awesome. I love that look and feel, and like I have that nostalgic draw for that, right? Like there's something,
and like I said, it somehow it aged really well. Like the scenes of the city, like those are like that weird, like, because it's not CGI exactly. I don't know what
it's
technique is called.
It's like mixed reality almost. It's like there's practical effects with some sort of layer on top of it or behind it. Like, it's super...
Yeah, which is that very 80s thing that they did. Like, Dune had some of that.
Yeah.
Star Wars obviously has some of that, like specifically when they're in space with like Star Destroyers and stuff like that.
Right.
There's another movie I'm thinking of. Oh, what's it called? Doesn't what's it called? Ghostbusters have some of that.
Yeah. I can see that. I think there's something near and dear to my heart about a movie that was made in the 80s or 90s, takes place in a year that has passed. Actually,
I think during the opening title crawl, doesn't it say November 2019?
Yes.
Fuck, we're 1 year late on this.
Yeah. And
literally 1 year late.
And so a movie that takes place, that was filmed in the 80s or 90s, takes place in a time that's already passed, and is trying to be super futuristic, but in every single one of those movies, it's still using tube TVs, and I think that's the best. It's the best part.
Well, that's a good one. Kind of a corollary to that, like, I always find funny, is like the underutilization of computers. Like the total lack of foresight to see like smartphones.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? Like, because like there's so many times in this where someone should have been able to call. Forget smartphones. Even something like a cell phone. Because cell phones technically existed back when like this movie was made, didn't they?
Yeah.
And so like okay, we're 40 years in the future or whatever. they should have cell phones. Like now, you could like make them more similar to like old, right? But anyone should be able to call anyone at any time, right? Like and like they don't. Like we can go to outer space, we can colonize other planets.
Right. The cars hover,
stars, cars hover. We got all this fucking like cool space travel, this and that. No computers, or like very shitty computers. Which I'm not even talking about the representation, just like what the computers can do. Yeah. Right. And no smartphone, no cell phone, no nothing.
Nothing has nothing. No utility has a screen. What isn't interesting? Yeah. I feel like that's the key takeaway there. The other portrayal of the future as seen by the 80s or 90s is that it's always raining, which I think is really funny. Just always raining in the future. 2019 comes along, rain all the time.
Actually, I had a funny thought about that too because I was like, "Fuck, man! Do you know how little rain there was in LA in 2019?"
Yeah.
And they can never.
It's because they used it all in 1980 when they made this movie.
I'm just thinking, like, one day of shooting was more rainfall than there has been in LA in the last 5 years.
Oh man, that's so funny.
They've been in drought for like 15 years.
You know, something else that just crossed my mind now while we're talking about it is, what's the timeline of this movie? Like, does it take place over the course of a day?
No, it's at least like a week, I think. Something like that.
There doesn't seem to be any transition of days, though.
Well, it was always raining, so you couldn't see the sun.
That's true. The very end, though, after the Tears in the Rain speech, there's a little bit of light that peeks over the hill, which made me think that maybe it's the next morning and this was one day.
You know what? Fair enough. At what point doesn't he go back to his room and sleep or something like that?
Yeah, Unicorn Dream.
Yeah, so like at least one.
Was that pre or post Android rape?
I think it was right after.
During.
Well, doesn't he wake up and she's in the bed?
I don't remember.
Something like that.
I don't remember, and I may never know because I'm not watching it again.
No, I am curious to see. I'm just hoping that I mean, it's a different filmmaker, right? I think Ridley Scott was involved in some way, wasn't he? But it's Denis Villeneuve.
Yeah,
we like his movies around here,
around these parts.
Yeah,
we'll see it. We'll do it. Maybe not next week, but we'll do it.
No. We can give ourselves a few months.
Yeah, that's interesting.
It's funny. I was just thinking last night too. I have a couple of movies that I want to add to the list of like what we should do, but I had like several of them, and a couple of them I was actually really interested and excited about, and I totally fucking forgot what they were now. Mm-hmm. And I was like, I should have just written them down. Like there's nothing stopping me.
Sure. The only thing stopping you is you.
Yeah, 100%.
Oh man. I don't know. I don't really have anything else. I was just wildly underwhelmed.
Yeah, I was hoping for more. My final thoughts on the movie was I had heard for nearly 15 years that especially the first one, but the whole series in general drew pretty heavily Mass Effect to Blade Runner, and that was true. And it was kind of cool to see that. The music in this was very similar, especially to the score in the first game. Mm-hmm. A lot of the looks on the Citadel and Omega in the second game were very similar to some of the looks of the city of this one, which was kind of cool.
Yeah.
And they actually do some much better because they spend more time on it. They do some of the same like ideas about looking at like the sense of self and the sense of AI's integration with like a human population and all that. So
yeah,
and like what that. Like the ethical questions that raises and all that.
Yeah. Well, it's this thing. It's like, just if they were to just even spend more time in those questions or like with characters questioning it, like that's the interesting part, right? But
that was my point, right? It's because like the whole thing about like the sense of self and being human versus replicant and what the nature of consciousness and all that. Like, that was in here some, like not well, but like some.
Yeah.
The idea about like taking that a step further, like, okay, so fine. We've established that maybe consciousness gives you personhood, right? And then, so if that's the case, forced labor is slavery. That's the next logical conclusion to tackle in this. And it's something that Roy tackles at the very end of the movie. And it's like, oh yeah, I didn't really think about that. Good point. Why didn't you talk about that?
Good point. Movie? Bye.
Yeah. So like, fuck. Like that's like a really weighty, like meaty topic to get into. And they just didn't.
Yeah.
Just didn't.
That was a hell of a monologue.
I know. My last line of the intro.
Time to die. Yeah.
Also, how much fun was Rucker having?
Oh yeah.
This like But like mainly like the last 15 minutes.
He seems to be enjoying himself. I think he enjoyed himself the whole time.
Sure, but like specifically that whole sequence with Deckard.
We didn't talk about one thing that really, really, really bothered me. Really pissed me off. Right? Deckard should have been dead like 3 times in the movie, like easily. Like at one point, Daryl Hannah is on top of him, choking him. Like he's going to die. And then decides, I'm going to add a flourishing backflip into the mix. Mm-hmm. Just to give you just for the purpose of killing me off of this movie.
I also, while watching that scene, wondered, had the makers of GoldenEye the 2 fight sequences with...
No more foreplay.
Yeah,
take
with
me to Yanis.
Xena on a top, isn't that it?
That sounds right.
What's her name before she was famous in X-Men?
Famke Janssen. Yeah.
That like almost a shot-for-shot remake of that fight.
Yeah. Oh my god. That was an interesting scene in the GoldenEye video game. Oh man. This movie. I'm disappointed, but I'm like even so. Oh, that's what I was gonna say. Watching it though, and with what it was doing visually, I could guarantee you, if I saw this when I was younger, I would have stronger feelings towards it, and I'd probably be able to recognize that they are feelings of having seen it when I was younger. But I think I would have eaten this up if I saw it when I was younger.
Yeah, I mean, I could see how one would be swayed by that, especially at the time.
Yeah. Well, that's it on Blade Runner. And that's all for this week's episode of Flix and a Six. We hope you enjoyed it. As always, if you have a movie for us to review or nuggets for us to discuss, you can send those requests to flixandasix@thespintune.com or tweet us at thespintune. Tune in next week for more movie and beer goodness. Until then, I'm Anthony Costanzo.
I'm Al Bielsa.
Thanks. I seemed like I asked if that was my name, not said that was my name.
I'm Ron.
Thanks for coming out. Mando Watch. Mandalorian Season 2 Episode 2 has returned. Oh, God. And Al has put on a mask that is all... It looks like it's all Baby Yoda's. I can't tell because it's very blurry. This is not a distance to the camera thing as much as it is a your resolution just tanked, and I'm not really sure what's going on.
That's fine. I'll just sit.
Is he? He's got the broth.
That's one of them. It's a couple of different scenes.
Fantastic.
So I got this.
All right, so we're in season...
in the mail yesterday, and it's from my aunt, our aunt. It was my birthday. It was my birthday present from her, and
nice.
The great part about it was I got it. There was no note, no card, no invoice, no receipt, and I was like, I have no idea who sent this to me.
Awesome.
But I found out today that it was from her. She's also the one who made me this little guy who will be joining us weekly for Mando Watch. Fantastic.
Al is holding up a knitted Baby Yoda holding a broth cup, which is fantastic. A knitted child.
Hang on a second. Headphones are coming back off so I can take this mask off.
Okay. Yeah. So
I already wear the mask
it's a whole thing.
every day, so
get it out of there. It's a whole ordeal.
Sorry, I had to go the route of derailing you by unveiling the mask unexpectedly. So it's got the scene of him using the Force. And he's like clearly under strain and duress. There's another that's just like a zoomed in of his like eye. There's him sipping or getting ready to sip the broth. I guess those are the only 3 scenes that are on here. And there's one little Star Wars thing on it.
It should also have the scene of him waving because that's tremendous. So good. Do the hand thing.
Do the magic hand thing.
All right, so this second episode, season 2. No slouch. Very entertaining. What'd you think?
Yeah, I've seen some people complain about it. What I'm realizing is there's a lot of people who don't get that this is just how the show is going to be.
Yeah. Like,
this is just how it's always going to be. And, like, they may play with that structure slightly and give us more story. And I think they basically said that during the lead-up, like, the promotional lead-up to this season. And it's hard, right? Because, like, the last 20 years of TV have broken the majority of us out of that mode of, like, episode a week, like where it's like different story every week type of thing. And I'm not a huge fan of that either. I don't mind shows that find a way to blend it. Like, for instance, something like Scrubs, I think, did it to perfection, where there's a
or like The Mandalorian.
What's that?
Or like The Mandalorian.
Sure. No, actually, no, they are still out of balance. There are a lot of episodes where there is zero advancement of story, or 1% advancement of story, and only marginal amounts of characterization. It's not to say that this episode isn't good or fun, but it is a true standalone. Whereas something like, say, Scrubs, like I said, I think did it really perfectly. Even when they're not advancing quote-unquote plot, there is characterization that goes on. Like important characterization. And they balance a lot of things and whatever. And this is, the good version of how you do a stripped down Western in space, unlike Blade Runner, which we were just talking about minutes ago. Because they can be quiet and have contemplative stuff, and it's like, but there's still something happening in some way, shape, or form. And I don't love the format, but I like what they're doing. I think they're executing it at such a high level that I'm okay with it, and eventually maybe I'll come around on it. But I also think they'll give us more as time goes on. I won't say that nothing happened, right? Him failing at finding someone is something happening. It's a bit of a weak version of that, but something is happening to the plot.
Yeah. I will go on to say that I love it. I actually do enjoy the one-off episode. I like the idea that at any point, if I really wanted to, I could just put a random Mandalorian episode on and just enjoy myself, because I could just watch a one-off.
Yeah, but rewatchability, it has to be a secondary motive, for me at least, to a TV show.
That's fine.
I want to be thrilled the first time. And specifically, I am big on story. It's why, you're the movie guy, I'm the TV guy. I love a long-form story. It's why I have been a big reader in my life. I love reading novels. I like a long-form story, so that's always going to be what I gravitate to. This feels more like, 8 or 10 or 12, whatever, however many, standalone movies, but very short ones, and that's not my preferred methodology. And that's fine. Like I said, they can still do it and execute it at a high level, and they largely do. Like, this was a good episode of show. I think I would have enjoyed it more if it was not followed after another episode of the show that did largely the same thing.
I tell you what, I as much as I loved it, didn't enjoy all those spiders. I was not
that was the part
ready for it.
That I was going to ask about. It was the part that we were texting about, and I was like, I don't want to say anything until... And he's seen the thing. Okay. I know you're really hate spiders. I'm not particularly a fan of them myself, but...
not a fan.
The great part was, right, because he wanders, and I was like, oh, those are eggs. Those are going to be spiders.
Oh, 100%. When I saw the eggs was when I texted you the first time, like, is this going to be...
And I said, yeah.
And then when he touches it, I was like, oh boy. And then it opened and I was like, oh, there's going to be a big one. and then there was. Yeah, a big and a bigger, it seems. Terrifying. That is the most difficult thing about playing Fallen Order for me, is the fact that you have to fight those spiders. It makes me very uncomfortable.
I forgot about the spiders.
I don't like that at all.
Oh, I believe that was the one I called the Big Juicy.
Oh, there it is. Yep.
when Gary finally got around to telling us he played the game.
Yeah. Ugh. Disgusting. But that being said, so we get some fun stuff in here. We get some X-Wings.
Yes.
Which is great.
One of those pilots was Dave Filoni.
Which is fantastic.
Yeah.
Just love it. I started watching that documentary that they put together, the gallery.
I haven't got to watch it yet. I would like to check it out.
I watched like an episode and a half, and it's just so endearing. Like they're just so happy to be doing what they're doing, and like it doesn't seem like there's any egos. Everybody's just really enjoying themselves, and it shows in the product.
Yes,
like it's just pure fun. That's the whole thing. It's just fun, and I love it. But seeing the X-Wings was cool. I think it was really awesome the way that they went into attack mode.
Yes,
like without talking, like that was really cool. And then we have just like a wicked chase scene, like through the clouds and like cutting the engines and then drop it. Like that was really fun. Yeah. And then when he lands, I was like 100% falling through the ground. And then it falls through the ground. But that was a lot of fun. Other things, when he So I went back and I watched. I love this. There's what is it? New Rock Stars. They do a bunch of like movie breakdowns, TV show breakdowns. But I think the guy's really funny, and I like to watch their breakdowns and recaps of the episodes. But there's this whole thing with the child eyeballing the eggs.
Oh yeah,
was like I knew like in my like I knew at some point or another he's gonna eat one of those eggs, right?
What?
I did not realize. Well, yeah, I did not realize how early they show his attachment to it until I watched that recap video of when the frog character, walks
first
onto
shows
the ship
up and turns and like they zoom in on the eggs, and I'm like,
Oh, it wasn't even that. They zoom in on the eggs, and then she walks up on the ramp, and if you're not paying attention, you don't catch that the little child. No, he runs up the ramp after her.
Oh, I didn't notice that.
Yeah. Which is great. But yeah, eating the egg. Now, I think that there's something a little bit more wholesome to the whole egg thing. I have a feeling, and they actually, it's funny, I was thinking this up front because I feel like I don't think it's as diabolical as it seems. And they were saying maybe he
controversial online.
I feel like he might be like just holding on to them.
Oh no, he ate.
Are you sure?
Do you remember him eating the frog or not?
I do. But he fully gulped he gulps it. He doesn't chew it or anything. Well, I guess he kind of gulped the frog.
He swallowed the frog.
Yeah, okay, he ate those. He ate those eggs.
And then crunched. Well, not only that, but let's just be clear. You do realize what that character was officially credited as in the show, right?
No, what was it?
Frog lady.
Okay.
So he ate the desert frog, and now he's eating the frog lady's eggs. He's about frogs.
He's about frogs. I didn't even think about that. When she started frog jumping, I was like, oh, nice. Lean into the whole frog aspect. Yeah, yeah. That's cool. I didn't see this coming.
Also, like her in her in the jacuzzi.
Yeah, that was really silly. I also liked the.
Also,
I liked her.
Stick out and grab something too.
Her clothes. Yeah,
that's what it was. Yeah,
she grabbed her clothes. I liked when she fixed the droid to use its voice to actually like communicate.
That in the recap, and I was like, why of all things is that showing up? Well, actually, I guess it was two meetings, right? Because that's also the resolution with the X-Wing pilots was that episode when they were in the prison thing when they saved Star Wars Clone Wars Anakin. Or actually, did he end up dying? But they tried to save him?
I don't remember if he dies or not. Yeah. No, it's just it's funny. It's like it's silly and entertaining. That and it was cool to like. So yeah, hearing her do the voice through the robot, I thought that was awesome. I also liked the questioning of like he was down, right? Like he was starting to slip away from his principles, and her saying like, "I thought a Mandalorian was good for their word," like that. Like that cut him deep under that helmet.
He's like, fuck,
he made a face.
Yes.
Yeah. So that was good. That's like maybe your only that's your only like a little like extra character building that happens in this episode for him.
It was so great though. Going back to the eggs for a minute, you texted me and you're like, "Oh God, is he gonna?" And I was like, "Yeah." I went through the exact same thing because I was watching. It's become like a nice little thing. Either on Friday or Saturday or Sunday, the whole family watches The Mandalorian together. Well, sans Gianna, she's a jerk. The four of us watch The Mandalorian together, and I think Dominic's been being a dirty little slut too because he's watching him on Friday, and we haven't been able to watch it until Saturday or Sunday the first 2 weeks. So, but he watches it again with us, and they show him looking at the eggs for the first time on the ship, and I was like, "Oh no!" My mom's like, "What?" I was like,
"Yep,
he's gonna eat those eggs." And I love that he uses the Force.
No. Yeah, they come closer.
And then they lead into you go, no, as he's trying to like smack it out of his hand. Yep. And he waves the finger at him. Yes.
That's the best part.
He's a terrible dad. He's a terrible dad.
It's okay.
There's that. Didn't know how to handle it. There's when he's trying to fix the ship and the child just wanders off and he has no idea the child just wandered off. Doesn't he look around to keep an eye on him? I'm like, you're a terrible dad.
No. Terrible. But that's all like the majority of the episode was, crashing the ship and then getting out of it alive with all these attacking spiders. But potentially my favorite scene is early on when he's on the speeder bike, and he's driving real fast. And then these guys in the desert try to trip him up. And the way that it destroys the speeder bike, but then he like taps the thruster on his jetpack to like balance himself out and land on his feet. That was a great scene. Really well done. And
also,
then
how does that child not get some sort of terrible injury from that fall? Like, that poor adorable little thing got tossed and rolled in the fucking desert.
100%.
And the sound, the poor little sound, the little squeal he makes. Ooh.
Yeah. But then how about the launching that jetpack up into the air and then the Jawa falling, or not? It wasn't a Jawa, it was something else.
No, was it that little guy that Damien does the sound of from Rogue One?
Was it?
I feel like it's more
is the same species.
I think you see its face is the point. I don't think it was a Jawa.
Okay, but it had some sort of. I thought it had like some sort of like metal thing on it. So anyway, that was messed up in the best way, where it just goes all the way up, and then and then the slow return of the jetpack was just chef's kiss.
Yeah, because really that whole time it was like he's like, oh, you can take whatever you want. He's like, he gets super greedy and takes the jetpack, and it's like, yeah, that aggression's not going to stand, man. Like, he's not letting you walk. Like, he waited so long to get that jetpack. He's not giving up that easily. I don't care how much he loves the child. He is going to end you. I didn't think it was going to be quite that way, but
it was fun. Oh, but like you said, overall, not much happens. Still entertaining.
Still entertaining. I don't want to act like I'm like totally like poo-pooing. Like, it was a good episode. I just think if we're going to do an episode where not much advances the story and it's going to be a big creature episode, I thought last week's was better than this week's.
Oh, I agree. Last week's was a better episode.
And part of it was because there's just more quote unquote like story. Like we got like having a character who can't speak in addition to the other character that can't speak is less strong than having.
I would agree with that as well.
The Oliphant Marshall character they can play off each other. I thought that was a much more interesting dynamic. Yeah, that for sure. I'm excited to see where it goes in a couple days. Yes, I do know that they. I don't think they've released any sort of like teaser thing, but I saw the image on IMDb because they keep it like a hidden what episode is until like you can only see one episode ahead. The next one is the one you saw the trailer, right? It's the one where they're on the boat.
I don't watch the trailers or anything. I don't look anything up on like future episodes.
No. The trailer for the season.
Oh,
there's one scene you see him. He's on some sort of boat on the water.
Maybe I don't remember, but I'm sure
it's that episode. I believe we'll see the return of Grief and Cara Dune in this one.
Oh, cool.
Which means we get our first official Mando.
Yeah. Nice. I will say one of the things that really took me by surprise, which I don't know if it's happened, you're going to have to clue me in if it happened in other episodes or not. Maybe I just noticed it for the first time here. They did the storyboard thing at the end or in the credits, and I really liked it.
That's been since the first episode.
I for whatever reason, maybe I don't know why this one particular. I really noticed it, or like I was really paying attention to it. It was just like really well done.
That's been since beautiful. The first episode of the show because it was a big deal. They showed the scene, like a couple of different scenes of like when he opens the pod and you see like the hand and like like the because it's like it's right after that. Like that storyboard thing has been at the end of every episode.
I vaguely remember that. So maybe for whatever reason, this one stuck with me. I think it was just because like as much as not like a lot happened, there was some crazy stuff on screen.
Yeah,
and to see the transition from storyboard.
That's the thing that this episode kind of really brought into focus for me. Like the last episode, yes, but this one even more so. It's very obvious that there's been an increase in budget. Like we heard that there was going to be, we knew there would be because of the success of it, but like it's showing up and paying dividends like visually. Like you can see immediately the scope of this is much bigger. There's like the set piece last week, there was nothing like that. Like even the scene with the ATST and like stuff like that, like that was not the same as this. Like even some stuff from the finale was not the same as that scene fighting the Crate Dragon. Like that was a legitimate big like set piece like action sequence. This thing with the spiders, the CGI was really good. And they're like having varying size and all the different stuff they're doing. Like they felt like real and tangible. Like that was a really well executed scene.
Yeah, for sure. Sweet. Well, we'll continue our Mando Watch as the weeks go on.